I am here at ACRP, the industry's biggest conference, at least I think it might be. You're gonna see this vlog, it's gonna be like, thanks to Viva, I'm here all day interviewing people. If you pan over there, that's our podcast setup. You're gonna get very familiar with seeing that location. In the exhibit hall, it's all about focusing on the sites, especially the coordinators. I love interviewing like frontline workers, but if you're also a CRA, I'm probably gonna feature some of them. Site owners, of course. So these are the topics I'm interested in to capture for this vlog. So you're gonna see me running around, acting a fool all day, interviewing people, meeting people. Hopefully I can obtain some business objectives for myself, accomplish some KPIs for myself, just creating more content for you guys, Guru Nation, meeting more people. I'm actually here thanks to Viva on behalf of Yuma Clinical Trials, so if I can get some studies for my site, that would be amazing as well. And then the after party with Anato later today at 6:30 at Radiant Beer Company. This might be an hour-long vlog, or it might be 20 minutes, who knows how long, but we're gonna have hours of content. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you like. Here with Sun Valley Research Center.
Dr. Rodriguez, our coordinator. Now he's being all shy right now.
Yeah. How's it going? How's it going, guys? What are you looking to accomplish here?
Yeah, just learn, attend the sessions, and connect with people, catch up with people, and just, have a good time.
You're gonna go to the Viva booth?
We will. We have not, yes, but we will.
All right, what's good for breakfast?
I don't know. That's what we're waiting to see.
Okay.
It must be good because the line is long.
Were you here yesterday?
Yeah. We came for the networking thing. Just hung out, connected.
What do you actually think about ACRP?
I've been a member. I've been certified for a long time. So I've been part of the organization for many years. I think I'm on 15 years now. So I think it's a great organization. I think they have a lot of educational stuff, and I think it could be beneficial for a lot of people.
One of the things Viva is trying to do is celebrate frontline coordinators.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, right here.
Yeah, like me.
Coordinator.
Yeah.
What's life like as a coordinator right now in 2024?
Fun. I have a good time working as a coordinator. I like it.
But tell the truth.
What's the good and the bad? What's the good and the bad? That's what people want to know.
Yeah.
It's a stressful job,
Sure.
but I'm happy doing the work, trying to help new patients that need the attention and need another option for the medication. Is very cool to.
And you get one of the best site owners in the world right here.
Yeah.
Of course, but actually, I think he should tell you a little bit about his background. So it was a little transition from being a physician in Mexico to being a coordinator
All
now.
right, what's the background?
Yeah.
Mexicali?
No, I'm from Mexicali. I born there, and I moved to Guadalajara. I was living in Guadalajara 5 years, and I get a master's degree there, and I was working as a médico de salud laboral y seguridad y salud laboral.
Shout out to Latinos in clinical research.
So I was working for NTNT and SKF. So, and then I moved again to Mexicali, and I'm crossing the border every day to work on the site.
That's
in Sun Valley Research Center.
If he makes it on time and the other staff don't, that's shame on them.
He's not the only one that has that commute as well. So yes,
Okay.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
If I were running, I'd be like making fun of the people showing up late. All right, good. Well, we'll do more videos with Judy and Pedro, and you guys stay tuned. Connect with their LinkedIns underneath.
Okay.
Last Minute Words, ACRP. You love it.
Let's
He's
do.
looking forward for the weekend and doing a lot more of this.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Live in person.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too. Thanks for setting everything up. And how many people did register for the team?
About 100.
100? Not bad. We'll invite a few more. Got a couple of studies already added in Nato, so there's a lot to talk about.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have fun tonight for sure.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
We'll come back and do some interviews.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, of course I'm here. Guru Nation. You guys should be familiar with Elizabeth Weeks Rowe. She's Amazing person. She actually monitored my site way back in the day. Did a site selection visit. That was the only, like, one of the sites I had that didn't succeed, but unfortunately you saw that one. But you still saw key staff that are still with me. What are you speaking about on Monday?
Monitoring evaluation visits, how to monitor the monitor, but how to do it holistically, kind of improving the relationship.
Also,
like when CRAs come and get signed off. Have you ever been to a monitoring visit where the CRA was with somebody who was observing? Yeah. I'm speaking about that, but not about it being like a checklist, pass fail. More like, you did this well, you need to help with this, kind of a holistic overview.
What are some key elements that people need to understand about this?
That the CRA evaluation process needs to be like a collaboration between the CRA and the person evaluating them. It instills confidence with the site because the site knows the company is performing quality measures to make sure the monitors are doing their job. I mean, it kind of makes sense because monitors, sites are evaluated, studies and countries are regulated. It's good to monitor monitors, but it's good to be done in a positive, collaborative way. So the CRA doesn't feel self-conscious or criticized.
Now, the job market's chaotic. What is your advice for CRAs out there or for CRCs? There's not really too many job cuts at sites, but at CROs, you know, there's a lot of people reaching out, hey, you know, recently been part of a mass layoff, what can we do? And someone who's an industry veteran like yourself, you know, you've been through these cycles over and over again. What is some advice for them, like the newer people maybe just starting out?
I would say networking is your best bet. Reach out to people. You always are a proponent of networking.
Yeah, you have to. That's why you're here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Make connections, attend conferences. I know it sounds hokey, but never give up because the perfect position will come. It might just take a little bit longer, but it cycles. In a couple, 6 months or a year, it's going to be different. It always is like this. It ebbs and flows, right? Yeah.
And one of the things Viva is doing is celebrating sites, celebrating frontline workers at the sites, coordinators. What are your thoughts on clinical research coordinators and how vital they are to the success of a study? Because I think even sponsors sometimes don't understand this importance. That's why I'm so glad you're working for a sponsor, because you can communicate this messaging to them.
I think that I was a coordinator, and I think that coordinators have one of the most important jobs in clinical research, and sometimes I don't think they're as appreciated or understood the depth of responsibility. And I think coordinators have so many paths to career development. Weren't you a coordinator, and now you're a site owner and a business mogul? And
some days still am a coordinator.
And coordinators can go to be site owners, coordinators can go to be CRAs, directors. It's a wonderful jumping off point, you know, for so many opportunities, but it's a hard job. And I think that part's not realized as well. It's a really, really hard job, and they deserve all the respect in the world for what they do.
Well, thank you for what you do, and the industry needs more of you, especially in positions at sponsor level. So I'm really happy when I heard that from you. So thank you so much.
I'm so happy you're here. It's so
Me too.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
You're having your thing tonight.
Yeah.
What
Are you
time?
coming? 6:30 to 8:30.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there probably after like 7. But it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Likewise.
I hope I get to visit your site again.
Yeah, please. All right, so that was somebody I knew for a long time, Guru Nation. She's been a CRA. She actually probably in 2015 did a site selection visit for us. She wrote the book on clinical research. One of the inspirations for me writing my book was Elizabeth Weeks-Rowe writing her book on clinical research. So really cool to meet up with her. I've actually never seen her in person. All my interactions with her were on Zoom, other than her coming to the site, but that was like 10 years ago. So that was the first time I've seen her in like 10 years. Let's go walk around and see who else is here. Hey, I'm here in front of the FDA's booth. Maybe we'll go in there and do an interview, but I don't know. Also a little bit scared to do that, so maybe not. Let's see. What's the clinical research job market like? Kyle and Benjamin. Look, right now there's a lot of layoffs.
Yes.
We just walked by CRO Alley. I didn't want to interview them, but what do you think about this?
It goes in cycles. It goes up, down, up, down.
So right now
it's on the
direction.
down. But then you're seeing things in there. You speak to clients and it's coming in, and people want to kind of move up as quickly as possible and get people back into work. So I think positive few months, things like this definitely help as well. Coming to
And what kind of
ACRP.
people like do you look for as far as candidates? Because there's going to be people watching and like CRCs.
Yeah. So
What about CRA that just got laid off?
Yeah. So I work consultants. So from your nurses, CRCs, up to your vice presidents of clinical. So
Alright.
anyone on a freelance interim who's looking to get into that side of things, that's how I help.
And like, what about like CTMs or
Yeah.
or project management
Yeah.
assistant?
We'll go all the way from your CRC all the way up to your C-suite person, honestly. So even if it's a senior director that's looking, we have a team that will handle that as well. And the great thing about Barrington James is we're all specialized, so we know our markets pretty much inside and out. So
All right, give some advice, please. Someone that just got laid off, part of a mass layoff. Let's say they were clinical trial assistant or administrator, one of these admin roles. But let's say they've been doing that 3 years or so, or maybe even a CRA for 2 years, unfortunately lay off. Like, what's some good advice for them that like Barrington James would say, hey, I can work with you?
Network, network, network.
I
So
always say that. Thank you.
you wanna kind of connect with as many people on LinkedIn. Your reach will get out there. People will see you.
I'm telling you guys. I'm glad to hear from other people.
Yeah, I think it's in any kind of place. It's who you kind of know, the relationships you build, whether that's
But
on
what
a
is good
site.
network? Because people will hear this and be like, okay, so they start spam, copy and paste. 100 people message the same thing. That's
Yeah.
not networking.
No.
No.
So you got to be tailored.
Yeah.
You got to stand out in that side of things.
You
Don't
gotta
just
actually try.
Yeah, you got to. If you want someone to take their 5 minutes to look at your message,
Yeah.
you have to put some more effort into that to be kind of different. Think outside the box.
and especially
And
with
unique.
us, with
Rally.
so many people that reach out to us, the more personal your message is, the more likely we're going to see it, reach back out, have that conversation.
And you guys must get hit up a lot right now.
Yes, lots.
Do you hate it?
No. It's interesting. People do such great work in this
But
industry.
give us like the real, like we want the real, like 1 minute advice. You guys get reached out by, especially now, tons of candidates,
Yeah.
right? What makes them stand out to you?
Someone who calls me. So it's calling into our office to speak to me. So they see
Instead of messaging,
yeah. So call in. That's where, because LinkedIn, it's busy.
it's easy.
It's
and it's easy.
so
It's less
busy.
friction.
Yeah.
Right? Picking up the phone, calling. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Then
How
they're
can they
taking
call
time.
you? How can they call you?
So we
People are
have
gonna want to do it right now.
1 second.
You want a job? Call up Kyle and Benjamin.
646-415-8221.
All right, you guys got that? Thank you so much, Kyle and
No
Benjamin.
problem.
We appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
let's get Kyle's number 2 in case Benjamin doesn't answer.
Kyle will.
To me, one of the best parts is networking with sponsors. So if you see a very big sponsor here, Sanofi, and I'm gonna go do like a 2-minute pitch because these guys don't know me. So I'm the same as you in this case. 2-minute pitch of how to get my site, Yuma Clinical Trials, some studies, because I'm currently working with them on one, and I'm gonna use that as a way to get in on some more trials. So I'm gonna wait politely and talk. Yeah, as you can see, they're busy, one of the busier booths. One of the things you do, you can get a cookie.
You know what's funny is a lot
You want one, Arturo? It's good, man. I'm with Yuma Clinical Trials.
Okay.
So we're not too far off from San Diego, but we actually do some studies with Sanofi.
Okay.
And I was trying to see what other therapeutic areas you guys do.
So-
This is Robert from Sanofi, by the way.
How you doing?
We're live here at ACRP, so I'm trying to position my site. We actually love working with Sanofi. We did a few derm
Fantastic.
studies with you. We have an asthma one coming up. So we have
Okay.
multi-therapeutic PIs, but I was just curious as to what you have right now going
So,
on.
it's a great question. We have a wonderful brochure here. These QR codes, scan them. It'll show you our entire R&D pipeline and some of the studies and
Love
research
it.
we're doing. If you're interested in more work, I can scan your badge.
Yeah.
We have feasibility groups that are going and they take all that information and we'll try to fit them with a good, a good fit from your, qualifications for your site into those studies.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, please. So take that, and if you don't mind, I'd love to scan your badge.
Yeah, he's scanning my badge. See, guys, if you come to conferences, one of the things you got to do, you have to.
Of course, perfect.
My derm PI loves you guys.
Well, derm is definitely our wheelhouse, right?
Is it?
We got Dupixent. We have some new compounds that are coming. Derm, and that's where I started. And I'm working on some derm stuff now. So we'd love to get you in the mix. Absolutely.
We'd love to do that. Thank you, guys. This is how you network if you're a site.
Absolutely.
Right? Thank you, Robert. Everyone can
Thank
follow
you very much.
on LinkedIn.
Please. I'm on LinkedIn. Check me out. Find my page.
Thank you. So that's how you do it, biz dev, like at these things. Don't be afraid to go up to the sponsors. Like they're here, they obviously need more sites. So I went with Sanofi. Off camera, we talked a little bit like study specifics. That's why I couldn't show it. But we're gonna do a 20-minute long podcast with Robert. So stay tuned for that one. It won't be on this vlog. It'll be on my channel. Right now, as you can see, they have all the breakout rooms. I won't go in there and disrupt, but there's like good interviews everywhere. But we're trying to focus on like sites, site owners, CRCs. So we'll find some more. But as you already seen, the job market, there's a lot of tech vendors here, CRAs, sponsors. So there's like a good mix of everyone. But we're gonna try to focus on some sites for Viva right now. Rob, ran into him at ACRP. Let people know about you and
Sure.
happened. And thank you for stopping me in this.
No, I just wanted to say hi and thank you for the videos that you put out on YouTube. Very, very. They were instrumental in me passing my CCRP.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And now what do you do? What kind of work do you do?
I'm a clinical trials nurse. I've been a clinical trials nurse for 3 years at Sloan Kettering. And the reason why I'm here is I'm trying to do some networking as well. As a nurse, there's a big emotional investment that you make with the patients. I was pretty empowered by, I don't know if you were able to hear some of that first.
No. What did I miss?
He's being silly.
No, not really. What did I miss?
Well, they were just talking about how we have to sort of meet this moment that clinical trials is sort of exploding and that the workforce is sort of lagging. A lot of people back into the profession, and we have to sort of start a little bit earlier in the recruitment.
The sites, yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the CROs having like mass layoffs and things like that, and there's like a dichotomy. So I just did a video recently where I'm like, if you've just been laid off at a CRO, go to the site side. Like even a big site like Sloan Kettering. I mean, you guys probably hiring. I know you can't speak for them, but from what you see, like.
Yes, we're definitely hiring and recruiting right now. But it is hard to. There's a big turnover even at the sites. But just wanted to say hi. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. If you want to come do a sit-down podcast, happy to do that too. We're going to be here all day.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you, Rob.
All right.
Quick interview here at the Viva booth. Can you guys please introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Michelle Vredberg. I am the General Manager of Site Solutions.
General Manager, Site Solutions. What is it about sites that is attractive? Like, what makes Viva attractive for sites?
Like, if I was a site, why would I want to pick Viva?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is sites are our customer. So when we design it, it is specifically for the needs of the sites, for the site's experience. We're not serving anybody else. We're not trying to get other people's requirements impacting the site's experience.
And this background explains it all, really.
It does, because we serve the industry as a whole. However, we treat them all completely separately. We're able to create purpose-built software for sponsors, purpose-built software for sites, purpose-built software for patients, and then we connect it all behind the scenes. I heard somebody described it this way once, and I thought this was really good, we're sort of like Apple, where sites shouldn't have to think about how everything is connecting. It should just work. Like, you should be able to have your Mac and your iPhone and your iPad, and you don't have to worry about making sure that they're connected to each other, or upgrading everything in a certain order. Like, we
Yep.
take care of all of that for you. You should just be able to use it and have a great experience.
And that's
yes.
the big thing is now is the single sign-on.
Yes, we're really excited about that. We're really excited about that because so many sites, when I talk to sites, they'll say, "Oh, I know Viva. I'm using EDC for my sponsor."
That's us right now. At Yuma Clinical Trials, we're using EDC. I'm using personally, well, we are using, even though we use Creo, we do use the Site Vault. We've been using it for like study startup activities. Like before you know you have a study, here's everything to keep everything organized.
Yes.
But that single sign-on is very attractive because it makes everything just a little easier. And then I didn't realize there's feasibility involved in that as well.
Yes, and also, have you heard of Launchpad?
No.
So Launchpad is something new that we just released also. It's a password keeper. So we really, we realize that as a site, you might have multiple username and passwords for different Viva systems across your sponsors and your own site vault. So we created Viva ID, so you have one username and password that works everywhere. But that doesn't go far enough. So we also created this password keeper, which you create it for your study. It's site-owned. The sponsor doesn't create it for you. So you put in all the different systems you might be using for your study. Anyone that is Viva Tech, it's single sign-on. So anyone where the username and password is Viva, you just click it and you're in. And for the rest, you can put your username and password. There's a little copy button. But the better part is that if you create it, if you're the first one to create it for your study, you can share it with everybody else at your site that's working on that study. And then they don't have to make their own tracker. Obviously, your password is protected from them.
Yep.
But that is something that we're just trying to really create efficiencies so you can spend less time messing around with technology and more time focused on your patients.
And if people want to reach out to you on LinkedIn, what can they do?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, some of our most active participants on LinkedIn is, I don't know if you know Clara Dux. Yeah, she's all over LinkedIn.
Interviewed her, I think, once.
Yeah, Clara
once or
is
twice.
great. She's done it all. She's been a patient. She's worked in research. Now she's on the software side.
Okay.
Bree Burks, of course, is very
Bree Burks,
active. Nate Davis is also very active on LinkedIn.
But like you yourself, if people want to get a hold
Oh,
of
me?
you.
Yeah, so I'm... my name is hard to spell.
Yeah, good.
But
Everybody connect.
it's Michelle Redberg. It's like V Redberg at Viva.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Can you let people know what you do, a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Sure. I'm the Director of Strategy on our Site Solutions team at Viva.
Super important. What's
Yeah.
the strategy right now? Like, what do we need to know?
So, I mean, Viva really cares about sites, and our team is developing free technology for sites to use to make their operations run smoother.
Free, guys. One of the reasons we use it, even though we're Creo users, so that comes with eReg, we still use Viva Site Vault for our study startup stuff. So before we know for a fact we got awarded a study, you need to put the documents somewhere. And those may be feasibilities, those may be the CDAs, those may be the synopsis, all that stuff. You don't want to lose it.
Right.
You don't want to just put it in a drawer somewhere like I used to do. And now you have a free option for it. And if you want to use it for your regular ISF, you can. And then as you can see, it integrates into everything else. So it's a good strategy.
Regulatory and source documents. It makes it really easier for your monitors to get in there and monitor too. I don't know if you've experienced that yet.
Yeah, we used the EDC on one study, and the coordinators seem to be happy entering data. So shout out to Lana and Gracia and Katie and Luis. Thank you. We're here with Lena from the FDA. Maybe 10 years ago, I did a video in front of the FDA campus there in Maryland.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was really cool. I had like a little vlogging camera and I did it, but so much has changed since then. And there's like a misconception that amongst sites that the FDA is out to get there. And one of the things I've been noticing from talking to the CROs, sponsors, even the tech vendors, and like the good sites that have actually been through FDA audits is it's not really the case. Like, you guys work closely with sponsors and make sure the drugs are safe. Can you talk a little bit about the experience you've been having here at ACRP so far?
Yeah, the experience has been really positive. Actually, years ago, I've done this conference every year, and years ago, people would avoid our booth just because of,
we were
basically,
joking about that earlier.
Exactly what you said. People thought that we were out to get them, and that is not the case. Actually, FDA works really hard to bring people into compliance. So that means working together. I mean, it's not about, going after somebody for doing something wrong. It's really about pointing out things that could be brought into compliance so that you're protecting your patients, you are protecting your data. And, ultimately everybody wants to have good results in the end. And so, so we have to work together as a team in order to do that.
Why is it important that you guys have a presence at conferences like this? Because you're the only regulator here as far as I can tell.
Because it is important because there are a lot of questions. I actually work in the Office of Communications in Cedar, and our division, the Division of Drug Information, receives questions from industry all the time, every day, from all over the world. And so it is really important that we have information available for the regulated industry so that they are able to do the right thing. And our presence really is just to make sure they have the information to answer their questions. And we have so many resources on our website. We have a great outreach program. We have our small business and industry assistance program that has several industry conferences a year, live webinars, and everything is recorded. These are valuable resources for any member of industry, regulated industry.
Thank you, Lena. I mean, we appreciate the work you do as somebody who follows a lot of biotech companies, pharma companies, and also owns a site. I really appreciate the work you guys do. Can you just walk us through maybe as we wrap up a little bit of the material we have here?
Oh, yeah.
You want to hold the mic?
Well, the materials are kind of bare right now because everybody took everything. But one thing I have to say is our small business and industry assistance program. Everybody in ACRP has received this card in their bag.
Okay.
It has QR codes, but basically this is one of the main resources that we promote here at the conference because everything is recorded for any member of industry. Sometimes we have CE credits depending on what type of CE you're looking for, but almost all of the conferences are at no cost, virtually available, a great resource. The other thing I'd like to mention are our Cedar Learn training and education. This, again, is really important. We are promoting this because we have a one-stop shop for Cedar Learning. And it could be things that are just very basic, where you have people in your sites who just need to learn about FDA, the mission, and other things, how the structure of FDA.
That's super important.
Yeah, and then we have some specific topics as well. And there are, I think, over 200 courses available on this website. So with this combined with SBIA, I think. You just have to walk away with those two things. And then on the back of this card is our contact information. So we do encourage people to call and email us whenever they have a question. I mean,
we'll put links to the YouTube and LinkedIn underneath.
Yeah.
Diversity in trials too.
Yeah, we have lots of different things like contact information, important guidances. I think we pulled very select topic areas and that are up right now. Just being talked about in general. We don't have all of the hot topics, but definitely we have some of the important ones.
Well,
like
this is one that's
diversity,
super important for everyone. Sponsors, us with Latinos in Clinical Research. We have a group called Latinos in Clinical Research, and we've been doing this since 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's now the FDA is mandating that we have reflective patient population in the trials.
Important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Super important.
Then for rare diseases is one of the top priorities in FDA, and development of treatment options for patients who have rare diseases is just very hard. You're not going to get the numbers that you want to participate in clinical trials. And so over the years, hearing from many patients, many advocates, definitely natural history studies is something to consider when you're doing work in that space. This is actually a workshop that's coming up very soon.
May 13th.
Yeah. So, and then we have other workshops too, public workshops that are free for the public. It's always important to engage with FDA if you are working on a specific topic, really want to learn and also express your own thoughts and opinions, because that to FDA is very important. We do have other things too going on, but we have so much resources. I mean, this is like bear pickings right now.
I'm glad I worked up the courage to approach FDA, as a site as someone who works in the industry, yeah, you're right. Like people are generally afraid,
But not anymore.
Shouldn't be the case.
But Pleasant, over the years, I've seen this shift where people are recognizing that FDA is here to really be a resource, to be the regulator, to really just help everybody do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Lena. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Nice meeting you here.
Yeah.
Ran into Kyle. What's going on, Kyle?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know I've been watching your YouTube videos, and they've been helping me out a lot. So
where do you currently do?
I work at Interspon. I'm in business development, so
we
I'm
love biz
new
dev.
to the industry, so I learn a lot from you.
Biz dev is what are some of the things you do? Just try to get clients.
Building relationships with sponsors and CROs, and getting new study opportunities for our sites.
Oh, I like it. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can do like a sit-down podcast.
Sure.
For sites, this is good for sites. Can you give us like a macro overview of what you guys do for sites?
Yeah, well, we're affiliated, so they are free to work with whoever they like. We just present the study opportunities to them, and they say if they're interested or not. We'll execute the CDAs, the FQs, and the PSVs with them.
Oh, I like it.
And then we'll negotiate the contract and budget with the sponsor, and then one with the site, and go from there.
From Interspon, Kyle from Interspon, thank you so much for coming up. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. We're here at ACRP in Anaheim 2024. I'm here with Katie, twin sister to Kyle, who you saw on my Instagram story. They're from Interspon, and we're going to get into a little bit about what they do, but we're also going to talk about site issues. Like you were saying, Katie, complexity of protocols. They're not getting any easier.
Right.
They're actually getting harder. Equipment is getting more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of just give us an overview of what you do so that we can have a good idea of like the context that you're speaking from.
Sure. Absolutely. So I oversee 120 research sites that we work with at Interspond. I'm part of maintaining that network and then continuing to build on that network also. So wherever we can find gaps geographically or therapeutically, that's when we'll look to build our network so we can support studies from a multitude of therapeutic areas. Through that process, of course, in speaking with sites or bringing on new sites, there's a lot of discussion on how we can support or what type of studies do we bring forward, and understanding where the sites can build up more at their own center, whether it's from a PI specialty or equipment, so they can be selected on more studies. So a lot of this falls into very much what I hear and see when it comes to engaging with our sites.
So do you work like directly with coordinators? Like I imagine a lot of the times a coordinator is talking to you about an issue. And how does it work with a site? Like how do they work with you, first of all? Like,
Sure. We work with all of different types of staff. So I've worked with CRCs, PIs, site directors, clinical ops. So really it just depends on who's going to be that person that's I'm going to maintain that relationship with. So across the board, because we have sites that are owned by the PI, and that's who I'll mainly speak with. When it comes to the study specifically, we'll work a lot with the CRCs or the site director in moving those next steps forward on feasibility. So
okay. So when you're getting into like feasibility and protocol complexity, and then actually starting to do the study, do you still get involved with the coordinators at that aspect, like when they're actually enrolling?
After the site has their contract and budget fully executed with us, we connect them directly with the sponsor and CRO, but we're certainly still there to support in the wings. So we understand that maybe they're having difficulties getting in touch with their CRA, or they're finding that recruitment efforts aren't going as well as they thought. So knowing that we connect at conferences such as this, what resources do you have available? We're having some staffing issues. CTMS, we'd love to get some more training on that. So we're certainly there to still support, because ultimately them enrolling is where our success comes in too. So we want to make sure that that's always there.
So them enrolling is your success. How does that work specifically?
Right, so through the budget and contract process, because we don't charge any type of monthly subscription or per study fee. So really it's once the site's selected and we do the budget and contract negotiation, which is where our success comes in too. So through affiliation, sites work with us, and it's not until after they're selected that we agree to the budget and contract that there's some financial gain for both parties. And patient enrollment is certainly a part of one of those line items.
And as far as complexity of trials, because this is, I mean, everyone hopes that it's going to get easier. You and I both know, at least I think, that it's going to get harder, not easier. I mean, I do see a world where we have a clinical trial with one person. We've already seen studies like that for certain rare diseases.
Right.
What are your thoughts on how sites can, or how sites should adapt to ever increasing complexity?
Yeah, and that's certainly a challenge that we're working through at the moment. I mean, a lot of what we're presenting is more in the moderate to severe. The IE criteria is a lot more stringent. I know there's been some difficulties in equipment or rating that's needed depending on the study. So we're trying to, through our business development side, one, provide that feedback directly to sponsors and CROs so they can hear that. Because ultimately, if sites can't produce, it's of no benefit to them in the long run as well. So really trying to connect those lines of communication so they can hear those pain points and then get ahead of it as well. So again, providing those resources, where can we support? Hey, we're seeing more in this side of neurology or psychiatry. You know, it may help to bring on some additional raters so you've got that support so they're not scrambling after the fact. So it's being a little bit more proactive or responsive versus reactive to what's coming through the pipe.
Do you guys help with like those kind of things? Like, I know a lot of sites, we do some psych studies ourselves, and you're right, the rater stuff is sometimes very specific on what kind of raters they need. Do you guys help in that regard, or do you try to share best practices or things like that?
Yeah, we definitely try to share best practices, and so we certainly don't cover all the bases for what we do, but that's again where this conference comes in handy, because I'll definitely go and talk to many exhibitors here to understand what they do. So when I'm speaking with the site and I know that they're having some trouble, I can say, okay, I talked to so-and-so and they'd be a great resource for you. Here's their contact so you can get in touch and they can help with that mitigation.
Okay, I see. And as far as like coordinators, because it's one of the problems with, well, I guess that compounds all this increasing complexity, is sites are understaffed. And we're in an interesting dynamic right now in our industry where there's a lot of layoffs at the CRO level, even some sponsor level. Like when the sponsors merge with biotechs, usually the redundancy gets cut out. But the sites, that's not the case. The sites are pretty much always hiring, even if they're in saturated markets. Like currently 2024, they're still pretty busy. What are your thoughts on sites training staff, and what have you observed, like from some of your successful sites versus some of your sites that are maybe less successful when it comes to like onboarding and training staff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it falls into two categories of staying focused on what you do have control over and what you don't have control over. I think sometimes from the site side, you know, there's excitement to get into research and continue those trials. I think sometimes they can end up biting off more than they can chew. So just being mindful of what you can support successfully and keeping the goal at the forefront. Again, I think also seeing where opportunities are to support them when it comes to their staffing. What are those struggles? Who are people that they can talk to? And just overall, I mean, with any business, right, keeping that retention of your staff, keeping them happy and feeling supported. I know on the CRC level, they're busy. And I specifically ask sites how many studies their CRCs are handling at one time.
What's like a good answer?
2 to 3.
2 to 3? Wow. If they're the only CRC, right?
Right. Yep. If I start to hear 5 to 7, it makes me take pause, because I'm like, those folks they're going to be overworked, and when that quantity goes up, that quality goes down. So we try to sit in that sweet spot of 2 to 3.
5 to 7. It makes me rethink my strategy at Yuma Clinical Trials.
Okay.
So this coming Monday, our 5th coordinator starts her first day. So we have 5 coordinators, and then myself too, so 6 technically. Everyone gets trained on all the studies, so we don't actually have like a lead CRC necessarily. There is one her name is Katie. She's like the supervisor, but we have like 8 studies, right? So if you ask any of our individual CRCs how many studies do you have, it's 8, but they have 5 people
Yeah, so then that's plenty, and that's manageable. And again, you can put that quality there because a lot of it is responsiveness too, and that's where sites struggle as well. You know, again, like what they can't control, and we have difficulties when we're trying to work with the site to work through those feasibility activities, getting FQs completed, scheduling PSVs, and when that non-responsiveness starts to happen, it makes it challenging for us, and we end up having to withdraw them. Yeah. So we understand things come up, sites are busy. So it's again just keeping those lines of communication open. Hey, we understand the FQ is due on this study. We'll definitely have it to you by Friday. Just wanted to let you know where we're at. But when a site we're reaching out and we just don't hear anything, it's hard to advocate and provide that support then when we're communicating that to the sponsor and CRO.
And where like most typically the non-responsiveness occurring?
I would say when it comes to the FQs, I think it's always a little bit easier to say, yep, we're interested, tell us more about the trial. Yeah, happy to sign a CDA. But then once it needs to have that time invested of getting the feasibility questionnaire completed or the staffing available to support the PSV, that's where it can start to become a little more stagnant.
And if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that? We'll have your LinkedIn underneath. I'm assuming you have a LinkedIn.
Yes, yep.
Is that the best place for people to contact you?
Yeah, honestly it is. Connect with us on LinkedIn. We have our online platform Crown there as well, where sites can engage with study opportunities. So if they go to InterSpawn's LinkedIn page, you'll see I'm a contact on there and they can engage that way, and certainly email or give me a call and happy to help.
All right, well, thank you very much, Katie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
And, for coming out here and letting us know a little bit about site life, coordinator life, and complexities and things like that.
Absolutely. Love to hear it.
Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. I'm here at ACRP 2024 Networking. I found someone, well, she found me. Thank you so much, Ann, for coming up to me and letting me know. She listened to the podcast, and I said, you know what, this could be a podcast, your career, your story. So coordinating and then CRA in the same place.
Yeah.
So this is like a big AMC.
So typically at our site, the way it works is you start as a research assistant or a coordinator, just depending on your experience, and then kind of as you get a grasp of things, you can be promoted to a CRA. And it's you still kind of fulfill the same role. You might have a little bit more responsibility as far as like managing the financials of the trial and things like that, but you're still a coordinator, and at our site we still refer to ourselves as coordinators.
Okay, what were you doing before CRC? Like, how did you discover research?
I was an EMT.
Oh, EMT? Right.
Yeah,
I got my brother-in-law's a EMT paramedic. I think, yeah, you're definitely not the first. There's many that have made that leap to. Matter of fact, in Yuma, at my site at Yuma Clinical Trials, we interviewed someone who was a EMT, but his schedule was crazy, and he was making actually pretty good money.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to take a pay cut to work for us initially until we train you.
Yeah, the overtime was definitely really, really good. So.
But you wanted to do research.
Well, actually, when I was in college, I got my EMT certification because I wanted to go to PA school. And to go to PA school, you need patient care hours, and it needs to be hands-on patient care hours. And so I went the EMT route. Some people do like a nursing assistant, things like that. And so I got my EMT license, and then I was able to actually work through COVID, which was really nice. I was able to do school remotely and work kind of full-time, honestly.
And how did you discover research?
So after a while, I kind of realized, and I was putting my application together for PA school, I kind of realized that it's not really what I wanted to do anymore, and so I started looking at...
Why, stressful or...?
Just, I think I didn't want to be primarily patient-facing and in patient care, but I like patient care. I like working with patients and working in some sort of healthcare adjacent role, but maybe not being the primary caretaker. So, just was kind of looking there, and I think as far as career development, I heard from a lot of PAs that, some people said that there wasn't a ton of growth. which made me a little bit worried. And I'm sure there are other options. It's just at the time, I don't know.
But definitely the EMT, I'm like very familiar with that career path because of my brother-in-law. He's works for the city of Surprise, Arizona, so it's like a suburb of Phoenix. And he's 30 years into it, so he's like 2 more years left to hit 30.
That's awesome.
And like, but there's a lot of side effects, I guess, that go into that role. One of them is PTSD. Like, if you work in that role long enough, you will see some crazy stuff. And he brings it home with him.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a very common thing among like first line responders, paramedics, EMTs.
Yeah.
They have support groups dedicated just for them. So that could have potentially been a route you would have gone down.
Right, and I work for a private ambulance company, so it was a little bit different. It's a lot of transfers, a lot of dialysis calls, things like that. Some emergencies, but they're usually a little lower level. Unless I was assisting a paramedic, then it's a higher level emergency that I would be involved in.
But those transferable skills from paramedic or EMT paramedic to CRC, people don't equate that, but like if you're an EMT or a paramedic, you have the transferable skills. Like one of the things we need for a CRC, hey, can you draw blood? Can you get an IV? Can you administer an infusion? Can you do like just basic vitals? And you guys, I mean, that's what you're trained to do.
Yeah, that's what we did every day with every
and work
patient.
well under pressure.
Yeah,
like,
That
who cares about database lock when you got someone dying, you know,
yeah,
in front of you?
definitely. So then I was just looking for what other jobs I can find or do with my skill set, and I found clinical research. And
so you just Googled like, what can paramedic do? Or?
I just started looking on LinkedIn at what people that were in EMS and what they do now, and clinical research was one of them. And honestly, I just applied to a ton of healthcare adjacent roles, and that's kind of where I landed. So, yeah.
And then how many interviews did you have to do, or how many applications did you have to do to even get interviews? People see the success. I want them to see the failures, if you had any. I'm guessing you did.
I interviewed for probably 8 months, or applied for 8 months before I even got my first. Yeah, hundreds, a lot.
I hope
it's
you guys are listening.
It's really, I would say it's really hard, and it's definitely tough, even when the market's good, I think.
Just that first one, though.
Yeah, especially
when
you have no experience, no one wants to take a chance on you, you know?
Right. But after someone does, and you get like a year or two under your belt, then everyone comes after you.
Yeah.
There's some job recruiters here, like 2 booths down.
Yeah.
We interviewed them earlier. They're calling sites up all the time, like, hey, and like subvertly, like the players don't even know. Like, hey, Annie or Ann, do you want to work? Are you tired of your job?
Yeah.
I'm sure you get hit up still by recruiters.
Yeah. I think it's also a way to kind of level up your career if being a coordinator kind of plateaus and there's no future growth opportunities, then you can, you know.
But your employer, it seems like they're ahead of that. They promoted you.
Yeah, and then I guess next steps I'll see what happens.
Is what?
I guess I'll see what happens next steps wise.
What's goals for you?
I think I like being in a role that I'm able to do what I want and how I want it. So maybe
like manager?
Maybe manager. I think there's
Have you met Bree Burke?
No, I haven't.
I gotta introduce you to Bree.
Okay.
She like runs the show here at Viva.
Okay.
She's amazing.
Yeah, so I kind of like running the show. I think that's why I enjoy being a coordinator so much.
But you're in charge of yourself and your patients, right? Do you have like any managerial roles now? Like, are there?
No. And I think before I even get to that step, there's still a lot I have to learn. You know.
Yeah, but it happens fast.
Yeah.
What? So just oncology right now?
I work in breast health, so specifically a lot of robotic surgery.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then I was also able to work on our NAPRC program, which is the National Accreditation for Rectal Cancer. It's not within clinical research, but it's through the ACS program, which is American College of Surgeons. And so hospitals can get accredited for breast cancer, rectal cancer, And there's the director, which is typically the physician, and then there's the coordinator who does all the audits and like policies, procedures, hassles all the other people in the program to get compliant with all the standards. And then after a year of being compliant, you can apply for the accreditation.
Gotcha.
So this spring, we're on track to get our accreditation, and we'll be, I think, one of 8 hospitals in Illinois to have it.
Abby from Viva said, let's celebrate coordinators. What did she tell you? Like, to celebrate something?
To
I
say
forget
what
all the
what
time.
I like about the industry, maybe?
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. What-
Okay. I think as a coordinator, you get to wear a lot of hats. I feel like I hear that phrase all the time, and I think it really is true.
Lots.
I think I get to work remotely and answer queries, which isn't always
Like
the most
half
fun.
the time you work remotely, or like all the time?
It's
or?
really dependent on where my patients are at. You know, some weeks I have follow-ups that I have to be in person at.
Gotcha.
They have questionnaires, things like that. We are an all-paper site right now, so I have to
Paper?
be, yeah.
Even regulatory?
Mm-hmm.
You guys
Yes.
might want to consider this.
I know.
At least we're regulatory.
There's just a lot of red tape with getting
with the
things
health
approved.
system.
Yeah. So
That's where people with like in different pay grades, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I know. I even saw on your podcast of you had Slope.
Slope.io, yeah.
So
Russ
I
Felix.
had a really big study that had a ton of supplies that I had to keep track of, and I was listening to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so great. And I actually had a demo with Slope, and now I almost feel embarrassed that I even contacted them because we're on month, I want to say maybe 10 or 11 of going through red tape, and our
Things
IT
move slow.
department is asking them for things, and I know this poor coordinator is like, this is a free system and it's taking months.
But you know what? Like change agents come from within too.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. That's why I'm going to introduce you to Bree. I mean, I don't care if you guys use Viva or not. I think she's a good connection for you because there's a lot of similarities to her career and yours.
Okay.
She went the RN route at Academic Center.
Awesome.
You went the paramedic EMT, Academic Center, large health system, both oncology as well. So there's a lot of similarities. So all paper, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Any advice for people watching? They're saying, dang, you know, Anne, I only wish I could be in her position. Whether they're EMT or whatever background they are. Because I think the part that is going to get lost on this is hundreds of applications.
Yeah.
And what made you not give up?
I just knew I didn't want to be an EMT for much longer. Honestly, my back would probably be broken if I kept working there. It's just a lot of carrying patients, so that was always a struggle for me, especially because I'm so short.
There's better use of your skill set, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's just staying consistent, and even I know it feels like you're failing and you're not doing great, but just keep applying. And
Can they connect with you? You're going to be a mentor to people?
yeah, definitely, no problem.
Put you on the spot. Okay, Anne's LinkedIn will be underneath. I'm going to have to make sure I have it because you look like someone, and I know everyone tells you that.
Everyone
but
tells me that.
All right, so I'm going to find out for sure now. But thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Thank you for inspiring other people that might be watching. Everybody go connect with Anne right now. Bree Burks, everybody. Look, this woman needs no introduction. She's site advocate. She's worked, she understands the struggle. You're an RN, right?
Yes.
Worked with oncology, with the patients in the academic medical centers.
Yep.
I want to say Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, you got it.
See? I know it.
You got it.
I know
You
the
know me.
story already. Sites still struggle. I just did an interview. Protocols are getting more and more complex. Sites are understaffed.
Yeah.
Despite all the layoffs in the industry, CRO and some sponsors, sites are not playing.
Yeah.
Sites are understaffed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the solutions you guys have are solutions for sites.
Right.
I work with a few. I don't work with all of them. I've played with a few. I actually use the EDC like regularly for one of our studies. Single sign-on is going to be huge. Every coordinator is going to be a fan of this. But why are you so passionate, like you personally?
Yeah.
Forget Viva for a second.
Got it.
Just Bree Burke, why are you so passionate about this?
So, I mean, I really think it comes from my nursing background. Just seeing, I had such a cool opportunity early on as a nurse to see clinical trials change people's lives, and loved it, so hooked on it. But I went through probably similar things that you did too, of like, over time, the technology became the thing I couldn't solve for. And the complexity in the way that we were having to work was so maddening. And I was losing great staff that wanted to just do their job, didn't want all of this variation in the way that they were working, didn't want all of these systems. It was almost like it was just, keeping us from what we really wanted to get to. And it, for me, felt like this kind of unsolvable internal problem that I felt like, man, what is this going to look like in 5 or 10 years from now if we keep adding all of this technology on?
And this was when? When were you doing coordinating?
I started out as a coordinator in 2008-ish, 9.
Me too, around that
as
time.
like as a nurse coordinator role. And technology, I felt like really started getting in the way around 2015.
All right, so let's go back to like 09 real quick.
Okay, yeah.
You were already starting to think about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even know what Viva was back then.
No. No.
Where, if you could think ahead to where you would expect the industry to have been by 2024, is it in a good place? Or would Bree have been disappointed back then?
I think I would be really disappointed.
That's sad.
I mean, just because, we use technology so much in our lives right now, and it makes things so much easier. And so I think looking back, I would have thought, well, that's going to happen for our industry too. Technology is going to make things easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a couple weeks ago, I got a bill from a rental car when we were in Florida going through a toll booth, and you're like, that was technology at work, right? But we can't even create a good consumer experience for our research site staff. We're just making the experience worse with technology. So I feel like we're kind of going almost in the wrong direction in a lot of ways.
What are some examples
sad.
of making it worse?
It's like, where do you start? Nothing's repeatable, right? So in my dream, I like to dream about, I shop on Amazon a lot because I'm working all the time, right? And I don't go into stores anymore. And Amazon has made my life easier because I'm not even worried about the supplier on the other end of Amazon, because the process is so repeatable for me. Look for the thing, find the thing, do the information, and it feels so repeatable. Right. That's a simple sort of example, but when you think about sites being a shared resource for all these sponsors, there's so much opportunity to improve consistency across the sponsors for the site, to give them repeatable processes. And technology could play a huge role in that if the sponsors could kind of come together and we could start working in more consistent ways. Yeah. And that for me is such a lost opportunity that I'm thinking about, pretty much every day right now.
Yeah. It's actually, especially when you're you're a site with a new study.
Yeah.
Right? Luckily, this last year I've removed myself at Yuma Clinical Trials from the daily patient interactions.
Yeah.
I do miss it, but the only way to grow it is to remove myself from it. But when I first started, I was in there doing all the patient visits.
Yeah.
Bree, I actually got, when there's a new randomization for a new study, new screening, I'll get worried, borderline panic.
Yeah.
This patient, I don't want them to see me fumbling around with all these tools.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an escape room. I use that analogy.
Yeah.
I won't go to escape rooms because I do it every day at the site. Getting a patient out of the visit is an escape room.
Yeah. Well, they're putting so much trust in you to do this research thing. And then if it looks like you don't know what you're doing, because truly every single trial is a brand new trial and you're having to start over.
The IRT won't work.
Right.
They're saying that the med is not there when it is.
Yeah.
There's thousands of possibilities here.
So something that I think about a lot as we keep this conversation going around, like getting into the communities to expand diversity, like meet the patients where they are, partner with those community physicians where there's already trust. But I think, what we're not being honest about is those physicians most of them cannot take on research because it's too complicated. And that's not what they want to do. And it's getting more so. Yeah. And so something that we were talking about yesterday at our ACRP in a meeting I was in is, my challenge to everyone is like, why are we managing all this complexity? Instead of looking at where the complexity is coming from and trying to make it more simple. And these sponsors really do, in my opinion, need to come together and think about bringing sites more consistency in the end to save their own drug development pipeline. Because if we just keep, like if we just keep saying, well, this is so complicated, I have all these different systems and all these different ways of working, and we want to get into the community sites, but we really can't because it takes extra resources and people to run trials, and they can't take that on.
But what have you seen from the sponsors? Because you work with a lot of sponsors, right?
I see that the desire is there. I see that they really are trying to understand and engage with sites and learn their experience, that they're wanting to support them, that they're wanting to fund things for sites in new ways. But where I don't yet see is that they're actually willing to come more together to the table together to say, how can we start to think about things we could do in more consistent ways for the sites? So I see that they're engaging with sites, and and the problem is becoming real, and they believe it, and they want to solve it, and that is new. 5 years ago, I wouldn't, or even pre-COVID, I would have said they don't understand that. Now they're willing to make changes. They want that site centricity, but I think they need to come together. Yeah,
the big ones or the small ones too?
I would say here, right? Because again, we're like, it takes resources to come to a conference like this and set up a booth and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you see only the big ones.
Yeah, you see the big ones here. So it is hard to say, but I do think that every sponsor is thinking that now.
But like in the wild, like you talk to small ones, like you have small sponsors using Viva, right?
We have, absolutely, we have small sponsors using Viva. We've even thought about ways to take our technology and make it out of the box for sponsors, where they don't even have to set it up, they don't even have to do anything. So we are really thinking about the whole market of sites, the whole market of sponsors, medtech, biotech, and really our own internal challenge for ourselves right now is how to simplify things. Our CEO has this cool story that he talks about that I love, and it's about this one guy named Malcolm in like the 1950s that was so frustrated with the shipping process, like all the cargo being randomly designed, laid out on the loading decks for days. Then you couldn't get it on trucks, and actually logistically shipping things overseas was a nightmare, and there was no standards. But he was so passionate about it and owned a trucking company, he created the modern shipping container. And then the governments got on board. And then it was like everything became more efficient. And I think we have to look for those opportunities as technology companies, as sponsors, to say, where can we decrease the complexity?
So just make ubiquitous tools that you don't need to think about. You just use it, everyone knows how to use it, everyone accepts it as the standard, and that's it.
I don't want to say that we're all going to just use the same tools as a standard, but yes, and think about repeatable processes like feasibility. Could we get a consortium of sponsors to come together and say 90% of this feasibility is really the same? Let's truly reuse it over and over again, and let's accept other people's feasibility data on the sites.
I feel like feasibility, especially with things like EDC here, can be done automatically. And of course, things like eSource, which you guys don't really do, right? Like eSource. But you have data out there.
Yeah.
You don't need to extract it manually from sites. You already have it.
Right.
Plus, sites, they tend to lie and exaggerate. If you enrolled only 8 patients, you're going to say you did 11. Because no one's going to check. Not speaking from experience, but there's I hear such things occur.
Sure.
But EDC won't lie. And EDC will tell you the demographics. Right? That's where I see it going. But I thought we would have already been here by now.
Yeah, same. But I think we're not working together well enough yet to really meet a lot of these challenges. I think it's starting to happen, and I do think if we could start to get some of the sponsors to work better together, that would be.
Wasn't SIP supposed to be that shared investigator portal?
I think SIP was an example that sponsors can work well together, right? Like that there is something there, and there is the desire.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to really focus on execution, right? And I think not everyone was at the table in the right way, potentially there.
Right.
So, I also want to just say this is not going to be an easy problem to solve. It's not like we just need to get everybody together and we'll fix all of this.
Right.
But I think that the conversations are starting to happen and we're making a lot of progress. And I think what we're going to see from the technology standpoint in our industry is what we see with other industries, where you do end up with these sort of bigger players at the end, and you do start to see consistency and systems that really meet a whole lot of needs. And then you have these smaller, really innovative technology companies. Right now, I think our market is so saturated with technology vendors, we haven't gotten to the level of consistency that we will over time. Right? Like that's just
I see.
The competitive market is
so
like
we're at the beginning stages before an eventual consolidation.
I think we're going to see a lot more consolidation. I don't think we're going to just end up with one mega technology company, but like if you look at electronic health records, which I think there is a lot of parallels with electronic health records and what we're doing. It took a little while for the big groups to come on board, and now when you look at a lot of the big health systems, they're on one or two products, and then they use other more innovative products for certain things.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that.
Tools too, like AI companies now.
Yes.
I'm on the board of one of them where they try to help you find. It's Select IQ. Shout out to Ethan and Jason. They're not here. Unbelievable. Don't worry, guys. I'll hold it down for you. But yeah, you see like AI tools on top of all this stuff.
Right.
That's
coming.
That's like 2040.
Yeah.
2040. Like if the way I asked you how you felt in 2009, like would you be happy in 2024?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to interview you in 2040.
And see.
God willing, we're both still here.
Right.
Hey, are you happy with how things progress? But where do you think it's going to head? Like, where should it be by then? 2040 is a long time.
I really hope that it all goes into the hands of the patients, quite honestly. Like, I hope when we're looking in 2040, it's like, I actually control my own healthcare data, and I am getting asked directly to participate in trials. I can find trials as easy as I can find a physician, and I can find information on the sites, and I can push my data to the site and to the sponsor, and I get my data back from the trial, and I really basically become my own driving force to create clinical research as clinical care. That's what I.
That's possible?
Yeah.
With the current tools?
With the current tools, maybe not yet, no. But I think it's possible in 2040. I think it's possible.
All right.
That's what I'd like to see.
Let's do a part 2 in 2040.
Okay, we need one of those, what are those, time capsules?
Time capsules.
We, bury all of our thoughts on 2040 somewhere here at the hotel, come back to it.
Yep. Come back in 2040, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bree. I really appreciate it. Bree, you guys, if you're not following her, I don't know what's wrong with you, but her LinkedIn is underneath. She's doing a lot for the sites. Really, she understands the sites. She came from the site level, and thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do.
Some people talk about, they're passionate, but you actually are. There's not too many like that. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
We got a coordinator here, Tammy. Yes. Tammy, we're here to talk about coordinator life, how you got started as a CRC, and what life is currently like for you as a coordinator. But there's so many people watching that want to be in your role. Mm-hmm. And you were talking with me a little bit at lunch about how hard it was for you to get started. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of give us a background of how you got started, how you found research, that kind of stuff?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy. I'm a CRC, and I work with City of Hope. Yeah, so my journey into clinical research started 4 years ago. I was working as a nurse care technician, what people call CNA.
CNA?
Yeah, so I started as a CNA, and I worked as a CNA for almost 3 years. I got enrolled into the nursing program. I started, And then I knew quite all right that nursing wasn't really what I wanted, because before I came into the United States, I already had my bachelor's and I had my master's degree.
From Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, nursing really wasn't what I wanted, but I had to start from somewhere. So I started as a CNA. And then just one day, one of my friends that we went to college together in Nigeria, who is also into clinical research, spoke to me and said, oh, don't you like clinical research? I was like, I do. He said, okay, have you heard about it? I said, no, I haven't. And then she said, you can try find out about it. I was like, okay. And so I started like digging and, reading.
Curious.
I got curious and I was like, this is what I actually wanted. So, and then I started making contacts, calling people, how to get trained. I got a place.
Who got in first, you or your sister?
So she got in before me.
She got in first.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to train, and then that was how my journey started.
Okay.
So I went into a clinical research site as an intern, and then the rest is history.
And life as a CRC now. How long you been a CRC?
So this will be like my 4th year.
4th year?
Yeah.
Same place?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this will be like my 3rd place.
What's been the differences between the sites that you work at?
Okay, so my initial sites, I think it was basically women health. And I think I left there early because of the distance. And then I found another opportunity where I work as a CNA. And then, I was promoted into the clinical research department. And that was how my journey into oncology studies started. And and one thing is I love oncology. One of the reasons why I joined clinical research was I could connect. I had family members who had cancer back home, and the part that they had no opportunity to have options of treatment. And then I lost my uncle, and then it was like when I got into oncology, I was like, this is where I want to be. So I started the oncology research. Yeah. Very challenging, but rewarding for me, because most times I get the opportunity, to just keep telling the patient, our participants that, everything will be all right. And then, the opportunity you give to them to spend at least additional time with their family members is really rewarding for me. So since then, I've been working in oncology trials.
Okay, so OBGYN first, women's health, and then oncology.
Yeah, so I left my previous employer and my current employer. So the good part is I was doing oncology, but it was basically more of solid tumor. And now my current role, I do immunotherapy, so I do cell therapy, so which is really interesting.
There's a lot of stuff going on in
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Even some of the biotechs I follow on the stocks are doing immunotherapy.
Yeah.
One of the one in the CRA Academy, we have the internship with it's an immunotherapy drug that we're doing. Pretty soon we'll have something new, so stay tuned, guys. But life as a CRC, what can you say about it? Like the good, the bad. It is a stressful industry. It's a rewarding industry, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that so far, like from what you've seen?
So like Leslie said this morning during the signature series, you really have to understand the why. One thing I tell people, because I have a lot of people that come to me and said, oh, yeah, because I'm an advocate of clinical research, I tell a lot of people, and then I usually actually tell them, why do you want to be in clinical research? Because I see it more than just a job, it's more like a ministry for me. So even though it's sometimes stressful, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm tired, I'm so stressed. The rewarding part of it, it's what keeps me going. And then it's what gives me joy, because I know at least I'm helping someone.
But the stress is real, right? Like
the stress is real.
Name some of the things that, because people watching may not understand, like, I wish I could be a coordinator. It seems like such a nice job. Like, what do you say about this? Because they don't see the bad, like the hard stuff. They only see like the good stuff.
Yeah.
Same with CRA.
Yeah.
They just think you travel all the time. And
So
stay in hotels. Your sister says yes.
You get miles and sleep in hotels.
I know as a CRC, it's really a lot of work, trying to get a patient eligible, your subject, trying to make sure that you're putting all your source documents together, going through the medical records, understanding the charts, Sometimes, especially I've met people who say, when you hear oncology, they're just going to run. And they'll be like, I don't want to do this. So the point is, as a CRC, most times when you try to do all these things together, sometimes you're tired. Sometimes trying to connect. I work as a remote CRC is stressful for me sometimes because I try to reach out to my PI, I try to reach out to my research nurses, and sometimes I'm still there for like 2-3 hours. I want to report SAE. Oh my God, I dread SAE a lot.
Now seeing your sister being a CRA, would you want to be a CRA?
So everybody has, everybody has, one thing I tell people, when you start the journey in clinical research, you will be able to discover your niche. So I do not want to be a CRA, I want to be a clinical scientist. And so that's the path I have been trying.
Clinical scientist?
Yeah.
And this is the place where we're going to make some introductions.
Thank you, and I will appreciate that. So I want to be a clinical scientist, and so for me, I have been able to discover that part that I think I want to do more than just monitoring. I want to be part of the process.
What do you think technology does for your job?
Okay, so
like what tools do you use? I know we're in Viva booth, but you can say whatever tech you want.
So the great part, I was in Miami last week for investigators meeting, and they were kind of curious. I was like, because I told them I'm a remote CRC, and a lot of people ask me, you're a clinical research coordinator, how come you're completely remote? And that's the power of technology. So we use Florence. So Florence is really helping us a lot, and I think today I met a team. It's also part of the team we'll be working with because my company is trying to expand, and so it's part of the software we'll be using to help with our work and just to make sure that we can get the job done. So I don't have to. It's amazing that I don't.
Clinical scientist.
Yeah.
No CRA.
No CRA.
And then sis,
I don't like that route.
Come on in. Ade Ronke. Listen, what is life like as a CRA? It's rewarding, but also challenging. Is it like flying first class and sleeping at luxury hotels?
First of all, I want to say thank you, a very big thank you, because you're a great inspiration.
Thank you.
Clinical research, I didn't know more about it. I was a nurse for a very, very long time, but after watching your podcast, reading your books, I had an idea, and it's been good.
What was your first job in the industry?
The first job is with PPD as a CRA.
Straight away?
Yeah, I did the clinician to CRA.
Wow, okay. The RN to CRA.
Yes,
okay,
that's what I did, and I've been there a year and a half. It's good. I love the job. I wish to grow in the industry. There are other areas that I would like to go into. I just want to use the CRA as like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Eventually.
There's a lot you can do in this industry.
I've been researching and reading about it, but as a CRA, it's interesting, but very stressful.
Have you been giving your sister tips about, hey, this is what you need to do to be a better CRC? Or she knows what she's doing?
She knows what she's doing. She knows better than I do. I go back to her to ask questions. She's oncology, but I can never be oncology.
So what advice, both of you guys, do you have for people out there that are watching that would love to be, they listen to you and say, okay, it's stressful. Okay, Tammy, it sounds stressful. I wish I could be in that stress. What do you say to them that they want to start?
They can do it. The sky is the limit. First of all, you need a good mentor. You need to know what you're doing.
So you're LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm LinkedIn. You need to know what you're doing. You need a very good support system. You need a mentor. I still have a mentor I run to every time.
Will you be their mentor?
I'm still trying to figure it out, but the minute I know what I'm doing, I'll be glad to mentor people.
Okay, and you?
Especially, in this area, I'm sorry to say it, but people of color, we have a lot of challenges. So if I'm able to help anyone...
Talk about that a little bit as we wrap up. Both of you guys, I think the industry made a lot of improvements recently. There's a huge initiative, DE&I, but we do need to do a lot better job getting minorities to work in research and participate. What do you guys think about this?
It's very important because to reach out to the people out there, a lot of people of color don't even know what clinical research is all about. So you're recruiting patients they don't even know, and sometimes they need people that look like them in order to be able to tell them how to approach certain things, in order to be able to convince them to come into trials. So I think we need more diversity.
And Tammy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think trying to get into clinical research, I know it's not easy, but it's doable, like she said, and it's something that you have to be passionate about. I keep telling people, just be passionate about, go for it, ask questions, network. Don't be afraid to reach out to anybody and ask questions. Most of the times that I've gotten into my different jobs has been because I was able to reach out to someone and they were able to help me. Yes, for people of color, it might be a little bit of challenge, but the point is, once you know what you're doing, I don't think your color matters anymore.
And we need more mentors too. That's why we're in LICR. Last question, all right? Technology, do you have any tools that you think are good, others you don't think are so good, either for a CRA or for sites that you've seen from your experiences?
I've worked with a couple. I've worked with Creo.
You like?
I like Creo. I've not worked with so many of them, but Creo, I think it's good for E-Reg. And
What are your therapeutic areas that you work on?
Vaccine, respiratory, asthma, and what else did I do?
Can you give me an asthma study?
Yeah, I did an asthma study. But
you think you could get me one? If I ask nicely?
I hope I can, but
okay. I'll be networking. That's why I'm here. But that's really cool. So you your therapeutic area is really all over the place.
Yes.
Perfect. Look, guys, you need to go connect with both of these people. Sisters in the space. It's a family affair. There's a family site owner too, mother and daughter. This is awesome. I interviewed a twin brother and sister earlier from a tech company.
That's great.
So here's sisters here. This is amazing. Both of their LinkedIn. You guys both have a LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Okay, both their LinkedIn is underneath this video. Thank you so much, Tammy and Ade. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye. Go connect with them. Elizabeth Weeks Rowe. Last time I met you before today, in person, was 10 years ago, doing a site selection visit.
I
at one of my
cannot
sites.
forget. Can I tell the story proceeding
Tell the
about
story,
that?
yeah.
I had just written my first clinical research novella, self-published
That's right.
on Amazon.
That's right.
And I sought out influencers, and I sent Dan a copy of my book. Do you remember that?
I remember, yeah.
And then a month later, well, you're sweet. I walked in coincidentally, and you were on the couch doing an interview, and I was like, that's Dan Sfera. I sent my book to him, and I introduced myself to you.
Yep.
I did.
And your book was there in my bookshelf.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. That was the first book that sold 50 copies. But it was a good experience.
It was your story about, basically it was based on you.
Loosely, yes.
Loosely
based on me, about a coordinator who nurse becomes a coordinator, and the adventures.
So, but in reality, you were a coordinator.
I was.
And you have a lot of experience with sites.
I do. I love sites. Love visiting them.
Love visiting.
Yes.
As a CRA, you mentor sites.
Yes.
You've been a consultant.
I have.
You've done basically every role in this industry.
Close.
You've written the book on clinical research, the thick one.
Series guide.
The series guide
to monitoring clinical research.
Monitoring clinical research. That thing is huge.
Yes.
Sponsored by or published by Center Watch.
Yes.
Who I remember reading that and thinking, okay, I need to do something like this, just comprehensive about everything, but keep it kind of short.
Your book is awesome. I still have a copy.
Thank you. Yeah, but your book inspired me to write that one.
Wow, thank you.
Because that one came out, when did you write that one?
I'm not the original author of the Series Guide and the PI's Guide. The other book is the PI's Guide to Conducting.
I think I got that one too.
Center Watch first published that book in 2003.
Okay, yeah, because in 05, 06 is when I started getting this.
And the original author was Dr. Karen Wooden and James someone, and I can't remember his name, James Schneider. And that book helped me pass my ACRP CCRA in 2004.
And now we're back
Yeah.
Full circle
Yes.
now, ACRP.
And they asked me to start doing the updates in 2016, and I did the updates for the 4th, 5th, and 6th edition. And the 6th edition came out last year, which is my 20th anniversary of my CCRA using it. So that was kind of fun,
Okay.
and it's been a great experience. So
Full circle.
yes,
Sites go through a lot, right? Sites, you've seen it as a coordinator, you've seen it as a consultant, you've seen it as a CRA. Sites go through a lot of stuff. What are, like, to outsiders watching, maybe sponsors, like, sponsors don't really know what sites deal with. Sponsors are used to thinking very rigid. We have a protocol, we need this many patients before we can analyze the data and then see how we proceed with this particular compound or IP.
right.
There's so much more that goes into it, though.
Yes.
There's like people on the other end of this study, not just the patients. I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's for the patients, but the intermediaries, the sites are making it happen. That's
Yeah.
where the patients meet indirectly the sponsors
Yes.
vis-a-vis the protocol.
Yeah.
There's a lot there that gets lost in the mix because sponsors typically don't have sites in mind when designing trials. That's been like a constant theme today interviewing people here is sponsors are starting to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're nice, but I mean, some of them are, but because they need to make it work. They need to figure out how to be site-centric in order to make their trials successful.
I think it's critical to have sites involved with the design and execution because obviously the execution, but the people executing the protocol know the real world clinically and what happens with the patients versus people who are designing and who've not worked in that. And I think the marriage of the two is brilliant, and I've seen it coming out a little bit more, but if that's a new trend, I think that's going to help with not needing protocol amendments. I mean, no. This is just my opinion,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, think about it. A protocol is designed, and then it's executed, but the eligibility criteria is really stringent. Sites can't find patients. There's an amendment based on feedback from investigators. So having that kind of involved at the start might prevent issues later. Just my opinion.
Do you think they're starting to do that, or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah.
I think sponsors who really value relationships with investigational sites and really cultivate those partnerships do succeed when they have those, pivotal site partnerships.
The workload that a typical CRC undertakes at a site, whether it's 2 studies, whether it's 8 studies, whether they're in charge, I know some coordinators are in charge of 20 studies.
Yeah, I've met coordinators who are on 18 studies and it's crazy.
What advice do you have to that? Well, first of all, sponsors may be disconnected from this and not understand what that actually means. Being someone that has worked at the site level, that now communicates to sponsors, you communicate to all stakeholders fairly effectively, I think. You're one of the thought leaders in this space.
Thank you for that. I think you are, but anyway.
Thank you. I mean, somebody needs to tell the sponsors, like, what that actually means. When a coordinator even has, let's say, 8 studies, it's a lot.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
I think as a coordinator, I did not have that many studies. I had coworkers who had that many studies, and depending on how many patients are being enrolled, the complexity of the studies, 8 to 10, 12 studies that are complex, that's too much work. It was too much work for some of my colleagues. As a coordinator at the clinic, I think having an open dialogue coming from a CRO or sponsor with the PI about workload. If a coordinator is assigned to too many studies and
Most
their
of the
studies
time,
are...
even the PIs don't understand. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, my job is just to CS, NCS labs, make sure eligibility's met, ECGs. They don't know all these portals the coordinators have to mess around with just to get something to work. And I don't think a lot of sponsors do either. I think a lot of sponsors design their trial, then they hire like consultants or people who figure out, okay, we need a vendor for this, a vendor for that. They don't realize it all goes back down to the coordinator at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think coordinators are some of the most underappreciated members of the investigational site staff.
By far.
They do the hardest job. They have the most work. And I think good CRAs, and I'll say this too, the CRA and the coordinator relationship is interdependent, and they have to have a partnership because they collaborate. No one is subordinate. I remember when I was a coordinator, I had CRAs who trained me, worked with me, and it was amazing. And I had CRAs who intimidated me. And the most success was gleaned from the relationship where there was respect, transparency, and the interdependency was recognized and promoted. It has to be a collaboration. And then the bigger picture, I think, when you have the sponsor CRO site partnerships, a true partnership, the trials are more successful as well. Just my humble opinion.
The trials are definitely more successful, especially when you have like the engaged coordinators.
Yes.
Willing to go out of their way, because it's not easy to get a patient randomized.
No.
Especially when the coordinator's payment is not always connected to randomizations or outcomes.
I'm lucky that I'm never involved with the financial part, so I can't speak to that. I know you guys, don't you guys have, sorry, I'm changing the subject.
No.
Don't you guys have like one of your partners has a CR?
Oh, Chris Sauber.
Yes,
Chris
yes.
does, so with DSCS, we can negotiate sites contracts, and budgets, and all those things.
Yeah. I haven't had to work in the financial part, which is probably good for everybody.
Well, the point is that coordinators, like, they don't really get rewarded for working hard. So you see this at like a lot of academic medical centers where if a patient's on the fence to randomize and it takes just a little more work to get them in, if there's no tied incentives, the coordinator generally will say, well, we'll move on to the next one. This is a screen film.
Right, yeah.
Right? Whereas the sites that kind of manage that process properly or tie in incentives, they'll facilitate going the extra mile to get the patient in.
Yeah.
Or like filing that waiver for out of window randomization, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just the default being, nope, screen fail.
There's a question I always wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
How many coordinators work for you?
Right now, 5 starting Monday. Monday is our brand new, our 5th one starting.
Did your staff, when you moved, am I allowed to ask you about moving? Did your staff, when you moved to Yuma, come with you?
No.
Oh.
These are all local products from Yuma. No one wanted to move. Monica, who you met at Global Clinical Trials, which was my previous site, she went and started her own site in LA.
Oh.
So she's got Clarity Clinical Research. She'll be at the after party event later today, so we'll do interviews with her.
Okay.
Psychiatric trials.
Good for her. That's awesome. I always wanted to ask you that because when you said you were moving to Yuma, I thought, I wonder if he's going to be able to entice anybody to go to Yuma. No, Yuma's good. I've been to Yuma, believe it or not.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had a friend who was a flight surgeon for a Navy flight surgeon for a Marine Air Unit. And she was based there, and I went out there. That's another thing. I've been to Yuma,
come
believe
back
it or not.
and we could do a podcast there too.
I would love that. I would love to. When I was a consultant, I wanted to call you and say, can I come visit your site?
Anytime,
Maybe.
Come anytime you need to. Like, our site is kind of like a playground for tech vendors, sponsors. I was telling Creo earlier, whenever you hire new staff, bring them here, let them shadow.
Like a training ground. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yuma proving ground. Yeah. But the CRA-CRC relationship, right, interaction, I've interviewed here today sisters, one CRC, one CRA.
Yeah.
The CRAs especially, so overworked, especially at the CRO level. What are your thoughts on this?
That's a hard question because some organizations, I mean, you can have 2 CRAs working within the same organization and one has a manageable workload and one doesn't.
Right.
I think it honestly comes down to the CRA manager. Because if the CRA manager is handling the resourcing or the resourcing department is working with the CRA manager, of course, enough CRAs play into it as well. But when I worked for different CROs, my workload was manageable. I had really good CRA managers. I think that's a key aspect because you can't just plug holes with your fingers, right? And if there's a leak, I mean, it comes down to manageable workload, and That's just what I think. So I've been very fortunate with really good CRA managers in my career. So
Yeah, and there's so much like good talent even at the CRO levels that are, I think, underappreciated, and especially now like the recent round of layoffs it's pretty well known now amongst the CROs.
It's a crazy time right now.
It is very crazy.
I don't remember this since
sites are busy
2008.
since '08. Yeah. Does this remind you of '08 or no?
Yeah, it does, to be honest with you, except I think in '08 what I saw was it wasn't just affecting the industry side, it was affecting like huge site organizations.
Yeah, it was affecting
closing.
Yeah.
And right now it seems like it's affecting the industry side, certain companies, but not sites.
Not site.
Sites are so busy, which is great for sites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good opportunity for a lot of these maybe CRAs or CTAs or whatever that have been part of the recent round of layoffs to get at the site level. And maybe it'll make them better in their next role at the CRO or sponsor side to have that site level experience like you did.
Or didn't you mention, didn't you do a podcast on if CRAs want to get interested in owning sites?
Yes.
I want to see that podcast. I saw it advertised, but I didn't see it. That would be interesting. I met a site owner once who was a CRA before, and I keep moving. Sorry guys, I'm a mover. I can't help it. When I speak, I'm all over the place.
A lot of energy.
I know, I'm so hyper today.
Yeah.
I once did a site evaluation visit a couple years ago. The site owner was a CRA, and he had been a coordinator.
There's a lot of that.
And he that full dimensional experience really helped his, like he knew how to speak to the sponsor. He knew how to speak to his staff.
Yeah.
He was a good business person.
Yep.
It was like the perfect trifecta. So
there's a lot I still encourage if you're curious about that and you are a CRA and you've never had site level experience to still work at a site first before you jump. Having a site's a huge commitment. You could lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you do know what you're doing, it's very rewarding. And I mean, in less than 3 years at Yuma Clinical Trials, we've done really well, but that's only because of my previous experiences and failures. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way.
but weren't you working as a CRA purposefully?
I was a contract CRA
Yeah,
for a while.
just keep yourself in. And see, that's great. You can become so siloed.
Yes.
If you're a site owner, you're concerned with finances and business development, and then you lose touch. Yes.
This is what I think you're really good at, this, being a generalist. Like anyone who wants to connect with Elizabeth, her LinkedIn's underneath. You've really done it all in this space.
You could say that's because I have short attention span. No, I thirst for knowledge and understanding, and I've been able to work in clinical research in different positions. Yeah, I like being a generalist. I really do.
Yep, I think it's beneficial for you. I think it's beneficial for the industry because you can take what you know and what you've learned from previous stakeholders to your new destination.
Yeah, very true.
And whether that's working for yourself or working for someone else.
Yeah, very true.
And there's a bunch of tech vendors in the space too that are popping up. I mean, if you just look around, I think 80% of these companies are tech vendors.
Yeah.
And guess what? A lot of them are lacking site and CRA expertise.
Yeah. I can see CRAs transitioning into a tech type position,
Me too.
but I would not see as easily a tech engineer, IT person transitioning into a clinical position.
Nope.
So, interesting.
So if you've just been laid off, like I'm trying to give encouragement to you guys, there's a lot of companies, maybe unorthodox companies that you haven't thought of that would love your expertise. So don't give up. Network, come to conferences like this.
Yeah.
SOS, go to webinars like online, Latinos in Clinical Research. There's free things you can do. There's paid conferences if you have some money.
You guys do a lot for people who like what to do if you get laid off, networking. You guys,
try.
I think it's great.
I think
it's
we owe it to
important.
the industry, and ultimately reciprocity, it comes back.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate this.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for having me. I'm so
person,
excited.
too.
It hasn't been 3 years. Remember, we did your podcast, and I hadn't talked to you in 4 years.
4 years, yeah, and that was on
Dan's
Zoom.
like, what? We just talked. I'm like, no, we didn't.
But now we'll see you next year at SOS.
Yes, I will be there. Absolutely.
We'll have you on a panel or something. We got to do
I would love that.
Yeah.
Seriously, I would love that.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Everybody go connect with Elizabeth. I'm in the Viva booth. Thank you, Viva, for even allowing me to be here and meet fellow site owners. I met a couple. We're already going to start exchanging study leads, so hopefully you're one. We can start doing that too, collaborate. Alicia from Skylight
Health Research.
And you got a unique situation because you live in Canada.
I do.
And your sites are in the U.S.
Yes.
Can you talk about the sites, where they're located, what they do, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how you manage it all.
Absolutely. So again, from Canada, just outside of Toronto, I have 3 locations in the US, one in Burlington, Massachusetts. That was my very first site that launched, one in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then one in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Both my Burlington and Colorado Springs sites are completely standalone research. We're not integrated with any clinics. We have a very large database of patients who love to do research with us. My Harrisburg, Pennsylvania site is a little bit different. I'm actually integrated with a primary and urgent care clinic that came from a prior relationship before Skylight Health Research became its own legal entity.
Wow. What made you want to start a site? Like, when did you start the first site?
Skylight Health Research was actually born out of a large primary care group called Skylight. I'm going to leave that off. It was born out of a large primary care group that owned, I think, about 30 clinics in the United States. There was a small corporate team in Canada that I was part of. As part of the primary care organization, I was brought on to start the clinical research department, really with the goal of making research more accessible for our patients and our providers and giving them an opportunity to participate in research. We all know how few providers actually participate in clinical research. So my goal was to make it digestible, make it easy by centralizing all of our infrastructure. And then back last year, just in early 2023, I actually bought out my department and separated into a standalone company, which is how, as a Canadian, I came to own a company that operates out of the United States.
Makes sense, because when I first heard it, I'm like, why would you start that way? You know, you try to like eliminate risk up front, and to me, it sounds risky, but it sounds like you're well beyond that point now.
Yes, it was a big risk when I went independent last year, but very rewarding to date. And I mean, I needed to go for it. I needed to bet on myself and whether or not I could do it. And I mean, we're more than a year in and we're still doing it.
Congrats. What gave you that confidence? Like, you know what, I can do this?
Blind delusion.
Really?
Yes.
Any like research experience
Oh,
beforehand?
all my background is in research. It's the business that I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I've been in research my whole career.
Oh, okay. As a CRC or?
I've done it all. So I started in university with one of my professors as a research assistant. From there, I got a job right finishing my bachelor's degree with a small CRO in Canada, specializing in orthopedic research.
Wow.
After that CRO, I went on and did my master's degree in health research methodology. So I have a bachelor's and a master of science. And then I worked at McMaster University, which is a very, very large research hub in Canada, again, in orthopedic trauma surgery. So it was investigator-initiated academic research. And I think it's where I really found that passion for, this is so cool, look at these questions that we can answer when we're all collaborating.
Yeah.
And then I went into industry again, which is how I found myself here.
And now you're definitely in industry.
And now I'm definitely in industry.
Can't get more industry than that. And I love meeting, this is one of the reasons why I like coming to events like this, is meeting fellow site owners and networking and collaborating. What do you think the state of the industry is currently? There's, you know, CROs laying off staff, protocols getting more complex, technology kind of being available. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the industry, I mean, it's changed so drastically from where I was, especially seeing the difference between how we were operating in academia, which for me was probably about 8 years ago, to how it's operating now, even the pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. I was just building my department during the pandemic, which I was growing a business within the pandemic, and I think it gave us a little bit of a leg up. One of our first trials was a COVID trial that we were able to do at one of our sites, but I mean, it's a rocky industry no matter what. It's always up and down. You never know when studies are going to get almost to launching, and then they're going to essentially capsize and be pulled right out from underneath you. But there's
it's hard to summarize what's going on in the industry right now because I don't think anybody actually could. I think it's picking up a little bit more this year. I mean, I'm seeing massive trends in trials in women's health. I don't think I've ever seen so many opportunities within women's health, which is an industry or an area that I'm very passionately trying to get into as a women-owned, women-led business. It's something that I really want to see. And I mean, within the technology, I think it's going to continue to improve. I mean, we're obviously standing at the Viva booth, and I'm a very big fan of Viva. I've implemented it. I've had it implemented for I think over a year now, and it's changed our operations. But what I want to see within the industry is paring down the number of technologies that you're using for each site, because sometimes I've got 6 different platforms that I'm using for a single study. And there's never a nice succinct summary to say, hey, you're using this for this and this for this. And it's hard to stay on top of, and it's hard to know from one trial to the next what you're leveraging.
Site Vault, it sounds like it's integral to your operations.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I would have made it through 2023 without having an EISF. And I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm standing in Viva's booth. I'm saying that because we implemented it and it completely changed our operations.
At all 3 of your sites?
At all 3 of our sites, yeah. Everything now automatically goes onto Viva as an EISF. Monitors get access to it. And it also keeps them out of my clinics because they're happy to monitor remotely. And it just, it keeps things a little bit simpler for us. And we recently went through an audit at one of my sites, which I really enjoyed because I found it was a fantastic learning opportunity for us. But even the auditor mentioned having everything on Viva made her life so much easier.
FDA audit or was it?
No, it was a sponsor audit.
Okay. I talked to the FDA earlier.
I'd be happy not to have the FDA at any of my sites.
Yeah, me too. Okay, what about source? How do you manage your source at the site?
We're still on paper source. I haven't made the transition to eSource. I have utilized eSource through other trial management organizations, which I don't mind it at all, but really right now we're using paper source. It's uploaded as a certified copy to Viva, and it allows us to make those quick corrections when we need to. It also allows me to leverage my remote staff. I like to onboard staff from multiple locations for a single trial. So if one of my sites is very, very busy, I can have remote staff help them with uploading that source, with entering the data, with resolving queries remotely so that my staff on the ground can focus.
Yeah, I had another site here today. We use Creo, my sites, but I had another site I was interviewing here. They use paper source and they upload everything to Site Vault as well. So that takes care of the remote monitoring right there. And they did that because of COVID. They were forced to find a solution.
Exactly.
Interesting. What about BizDev, getting studies? How what do you do to get studies? Are you using things like Inato or clinicaltrials.gov or?
We use Inato. My director of research loves to scour clinicaltrials.gov constantly. It's one of her favorite pastimes, is sending me all of the different opportunities. I mean, we have other trial management organizations that we work with as well, so we have a clear pipeline through that. And some of my PIs actually will direct sponsors who they work with to us to run trials out of there. So that's been really successful. And
you're like the medical science liaisons from the sponsors?
Yeah, and they have relationships with some of these sponsors to say, hey, this is a great opportunity for them and for us as the site. So we've had a couple acquisitions or a couple awards through that as well. And then also just clients coming back to us. We've had sponsors who have come back to us to say, yep, we've got another one. Do you want to work on this one with us as well?
Repeat business. Now, you said 2 of your sites, 2 of the 3 are the same company, or all 3 are?
All 3 are under the same company. Okay. One of them is integrated within another clinic, but all of them fall under my legal entity.
Do you find that sponsors, like when you approach them, do you typically find like one site is more like the magnet, and then you try to like convince them to give you the same study at the other 2 sites, or?
Yes, absolutely. That's what happens, because I have my Burlington site is absolutely my busiest. They've done the most amount of work. That's the Massachusetts site, which I always say I don't understand how we've been so successful in that hub, which has so much research. It is just such a hub of research and pharma there, but we've made it work, and I think because we can do it a little bit more efficient, we're not getting stuck in that 8-month trial startup like hospitals and academic centers do. We can go a little bit faster than that.
One of them does a 1-year startup for. That's crazy.
And I can work quite a bit faster, but still having the patients coming from Boston, because we're not that far outside of Boston. But often I get in the door with my Burlington site, and then I can leverage what we can do, because I like to try and make things efficient for our CROs and sponsors as well, because of how small we are with 3 sites and being so new, not necessarily to the industry, but new as a company. I can leverage to give them 3 different locations under a single budget, a single contract, and then a single regulatory person, which is still me.
You're giving me a lot of ideas, because my site, Yuma, Arizona, it's 3 years, just about 3 years old. It's a really good location, underserved. I don't want to live there very long, and as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, medical science liaison, most of the time they just want a Zoom call.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to be there in person.
No.
You're there in person for the sales rep. So as long as you have somebody knowing when the sales reps are coming, hey, make sure I can talk to your MSL. Here's Alicia's email. Dear Alicia, please meet, and then you can take it over from there, right?
Exactly.
Is that similar to what you do?
Yeah, and even with my staff, I mean, I'm a click away and they're on video with me. I have staff who it feels like I've met them in person, who I haven't met in person yet, because we talk all the time. I mean, technology allows me
to communicate, Slack or something.
Teams. We're all Microsoft.
Okay. So Teams, so you have the chat going?
Oh, the research chat blows up all day. I've got my full team in a single chat, and then I have separate chats for the sites and for study-specific chats as well, so that anybody who's on any particular study, we keep a chat separate so that we're not blowing up our whole chat. But I mean, it's fun, and sometimes the staff, it gets a little bit silly. We get a little bit jokey in that chat, and it makes us all feel very connected, despite the fact that we're in 4 different locations, with me in Canada and then 3 different states.
And I feel like it would bring some cohesion between the sites that don't really know each other.
They all know each other. I've got some that they'll fight a little bit, like brothers and sisters almost. They get a little bit sassy with each other.
And if they share the same studies, they can actually help each other out.
Absolutely. It helps for a lot of collaboration. And
Alicia, you're a genius. This is making a lot of sense right now.
It's so awesome. And even when I have a study that launches in 2 different locations, let's say, I will cross onboard staff, so that, again, if I have staff who are struggling, or they're really busy on site and they need help with query resolution or data entry, I'll have other staff pick up, and I'll have other staff calling and scheduling patients, so that I'm leveraging all my staff. So I don't have some staff in one clinic who maybe aren't that busy twiddling their thumbs, while I've got other staff who are just completely overrun. We're small, and we stay efficient by leveraging everything that we have, really, through technology.
So, like, you mean to say, okay, Massachusetts site, you're not that busy right now, just hypothetical.
Yep.
You're not that busy right now. Colorado Springs has been enrolling a lot. I want you entering data for them?
Absolutely, yeah. They'll get it up on Viva, we'll see the source, and then my other staff will enter that data.
And is it like a daily request? Like, this can change, like next week we can do something else?
Yep.
I'm telling you guys what to do.
Exactly. And a lot of the time they'll just collaborate amongst themselves. They know what has to get done, and they know that they can just reach out and ask for help. It's same with patient scheduling and screening. There's so much pre-screening that goes into all of our trials.
I'm getting a lot of ideas. What about CTMS? How do you manage finances? Do you do it all by hand? Or?
No, I just adopted a CTMS, and
Which
even
one?
real time.
Real time, okay.
Yeah, just earlier this year. That was a process to get it implemented. It's a lot. It's a massive system, and it can do so much. But getting that implemented, again, I found thousands of dollars with doing a full financial reconciliation. And again, because I have that multi-site functionality, it allows me to make sure that everybody is keyed in. All of my pre-screening questions are populated in there with the script, so that I can have anybody at any of my sites jump in. If a patient calls and they get passed along to one of my other sites, somebody can go into real time, know what they have to do, go into that patient's profile and pre-screen them with a script that's already loaded, as long as, of course, they're on the delegation
We've got a
log.
lot more to discuss. This is like the Oscars where they turn the music on, to wrap you up. We got to do a part 2.
Absolutely.
I think we need to collaborate, because you've given me a lot of ideas.
I would love to talk more. I'm all about collaboration over competition. There's room for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alicia.
It was a pleasure.
They turned on the music, but I'm here with Walter. He's a CCRC. We're here to celebrate coordinators. These are the people, frontline workers, that we're here to celebrate and interview and get their opinions on the industry. And Walter, thank you so much, man. Thank you for coming.
Dan, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Let us know a little bit about yourself, how you got into research, and where you currently work.
Yeah, again, so my name's Walter. I've been in clinical research now since the beginning of the pandemic in late 2020. Started out working at the University of Chicago. I was a research specialist over there, so I worked more in the laboratory there with a couple studies that were in-house at the university still, that the university sponsored, and got into a little more with clinical research and processing samples and talking to coordinators on the daily who are running different studies for different sponsors. Found an interest in it and actually started using your CRC Academy and use your YouTube channel a little bit to learn a little bit more about clinical research and the details of it, because I didn't have a big understanding of a lot of the bigger picture of clinical research outside of like my specific role at the university.
And at Flourish Research, you guys do a lot of Alzheimer's stuff, right? Or is it only Alzheimer's?
I worked at UChicago for about 2 years and then went over to Flourish Research and started there as a clinical research coordinator. We originally were called Great Lakes Clinical Trials.
You were with Great Lakes?
Great Lakes Clinical Trials in Chicago.
David LaHaye?
Yeah,
You know David LaHaye?
I might have been there after he was there.
Shout out David LaHaye. Okay.
But anyways, we were umbrellaed into a company called Flourish Research, which is a clinical trial company. It has about 18 sites, and they have 3 main therapeutic areas: cardiovascular, infectious disease, and neurological. As a coordinator, I'm mostly in the neurological side of their therapeutic industry, and I work in a lot of Alzheimer's and mild cognitive impairment research.
What's the coolest part? Let's celebrate coordinators. What's the coolest part of your job? Coolest part and the part you love the most? Maybe those are different, maybe it's the same thing.
I think one of the cool things about especially Alzheimer's research that I really like is just the participants that are there and working with. As much as you work with the participants that have memory impairment, you also have to work with their study partners, which is a different part of research that has more there's consenting or study partners that has to happen, as well as you kind of run through and work through the study partners just as much as you work through the participants. So I like having contact with both, with more than one person's usually there for a lot of the visits that happen for Alzheimer's research. Yeah, caregivers, study partners.
Whatever you call them.
Yeah, it's cool also working with different laws and regulations regarding people consenting that sometimes can't consent on their own. So you have to work with different state laws and regulations for that. And Alzheimer's trials as well have scales and different parts of psychometric scales. Yes, rated a few scales, CDRs, MMSEs, ADAS-COG's another scale that eventually I'd like to get some more experience to be able to rate some of those.
I'd have to do a lot of them at our site until we get our other raters up to speed, because I'm like grandfathered in. But ADAS-COG, that's one where like they point to blocks and stuff, and you got to remember, like, it's kind of cool to see how they progress over the course of the trial.
That's one of the things that I like about Alzheimer's research. These trials are longer. You get to see people throughout and build a relationship with a lot of the people that participate in the trials, as well as the caregivers.
I like that too.
And as well as the complexity of the studies. They tend to have like a very complex protocol that you really get to dive into and creating source and all the things that are involved with Alzheimer's research. I really enjoy.
I like in Alzheimer's, or like in all psych for that matter, you know, you do rating scales with patients, and a lot of them are interview based, and ultimately you learn more about their lives than you think you would.
And they're funny people. I mean, some of the things that they remember, you get attached and build rapport, and also it's something that you have to be patient with too. Sometimes you have to repeat yourself and then repeat yourself again. It's something you have to work on with patience, and I think it's helped develop some of my skill sets, having patience with participants.
What about technology? Like tech? What?
Yeah, some of the studies use technology. There's diaries, just again study dependent, but working with participants to make sure that they're compliant with different devices that are required or scales that are used throughout the study, making sure that they're doing diaries daily, using IP date, however it's required, or coming to the site. It's a whole team that not only myself, but the principal investigators on the studies, the recruiters that we have that help find the participants, and the entire study staff with raters and everybody. It's a whole group that goes into these Alzheimer's trials, and it takes a whole village to make it happen.
Do you do regulatory as well?
We have a separate regulatory department that helps put all the regulatory aspects of the.
So you're not really involved on the regulatory side?
Not myself particularly. I mean, we as soon as we get information, we always send it to our regulatory, and then they upload it. We're slowly working towards eSource for some of the studies, which is something that we just started.
You were saying with real time, or
yes, we've been using real time as a CTMS, and we're working towards using eSource for some of our Alzheimer's studies. I actually was the first person at our site to use eSource for one of our upcoming studies, so it's been exciting. We did our first screen with it, and
that's big time.
Yeah, we're slowly transitioning from paper, so getting all of our investigators on board and everybody with that. One of the reasons why I'm coming to the ACRP conference as well is just to get more information. We have a study that's a decentralized trial. Went to a seminar this morning on decentralized trials from somebody that is a monitor for the FDA. It was really some of the insight that we got was really invaluable. And
what's the size of your organization, the site you work for?
There's about 18 sites is I think how many we have. We might be up to 20 now over multiple states in different areas of the country.
So it's a pretty big site
about
network.
500. I think there's about 500 employees across all the.
So that's big, and they got everything streamlined. How do you like working for a group like that?
I love Flourish. They've put in some standard operating procedures that we didn't necessarily have when we were a standalone site. And I kind of started working with the site that I'm at now as soon as we got adopted under their umbrella. And I think those standard operating procedures that they put in place are really good for our industry and really good for our site.
You're relatively young, relatively newer to the industry. What career goals do you have in mind in the near future and maybe in the long future for yourself?
Since I'm in the Alzheimer's area, I would really like to have some more experience with some, like you're saying, some of the psychometric scales, and to be able to perform some of those. Some of them require an advanced degree, so maybe working towards that in order to be able to perform some of the scales that are required for some of the studies. We have psychometric graders, but I think that's one of the biggest problems with Alzheimer's research is it's tough to get experience on some of the scales that people require to have experience on, as well as the educational background that are required to rate some of those scales.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, on LinkedIn.
Everybody, follow Walter. Underneath this video is his LinkedIn profile. Go connect. All right, this is the new generation of researchers. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. And everybody else, follow Dan's YouTube channel. Follow Dan on LinkedIn as well. Dan's the insight that he has and the way that he's explained a few concepts that I was unsure about when I first started in clinical research was really useful, especially when I was looking for a new position, and as well when I was working on getting my ACRP certification. His handbook was something that I referenced multiple times while I was studying for the certification.
Thank you, man. It helped you pass? The book helped you pass?
Yes.
That's good. At least
and
it's
the
not
4-hour
failing
YouTube course.
And the 4-hour one. All right. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Nice to meet you here. CRC to CRA. I mean, just all around great person. Thank you so much for coming on.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
You came up to me when we were eating.
Yes.
Enthusiastic. You know, you were saying something about a video or something, but that's how you got in the industry.
Definitely. By the way, sorry, in the middle of your...
No, that's perfect.
Of eating.
We were just sitting there, you know, talking. This is the video team that is here. They come with me from Yuma. We were just talking, so it's pleasant company.
Yeah, so I was basically just walking and saw your face, and I said, isn't this Dan Sfera? The guy that I look on YouTube since 2017. Yes, that's you.
Let's do it.
And so basically I was looking at your videos when I first started in this industry. I was fresh graduate, and I've heard about clinical research, but didn't know anything about it. So I started with my researches, and that's where I found Dan Sfera, or the clinical trial guru, on YouTube, and you basically gave me all the keys I needed to do my first job interview. So that's how I started.
Where'd you do that job interview? How was it?
It was in a small clinic in Montreal, Canada, doing clinical research in endocrinology.
Okay.
So I started as a clinical research coordinator.
Yeah. Was that the first interview you had, or did you fail before?
That's the part
people need to know.
that's the part I didn't tell you, but you're right. I failed miserably many times, but the goal here is to always keep trying, definitely. So listen, I think I went to the biggest hospital in Montreal, which is the CHUM, and I had 6 interviews, and every single time when I called them to have a feedback, they said it was a hard choice between you and someone else. Always the same story.
Always
until the last one, they said, I know someone in a clinic, they are looking for a clinical research coordinator, let me call her and see how it goes from there. And I did the interview and I got the job.
So the one you got was the one you did unorthodox.
Definitely.
You found it yourself. You didn't rely on a LinkedIn website to click a button. You didn't find like a Indeed.com. You said, my friend, help me out.
Yeah.
So it's all about who you know and
you know
networking.
what? Listen, I'm from Montreal, Canada, East Coast, and look at us together. We are both in California. So clinical research is definitely a very small world.
Yes.
So just keep going until you have the chance. So yeah.
And then you gravitated from CRC. How quickly after did you become CRA?
I needed to be patient. You know, CRA is, at least for me, it was very hard. When you are a CRC, you kind of have the foot in the door in clinical research. It's a great experience to learn a lot of things, protocol, GCPs, etc. To become a CRA, it was very hard. Again, I lost my job as CRC during COVID, when COVID hit. Like a lot of people across, not only the country, but everywhere on the world. Yeah. And I made many interviews as CRA. And they said, listen, you do not have any on-site monitoring experience. So it was easy to not select you and select someone else. After that, I said, let's try another role, kind of entry level. So I was 2D startup specialist.
Startup specialist.
There we go. For a year and a half, which gave me the opportunity to gain visibility within the company. And from there, I told them since the beginning at the interview, I want to become a CRA one day. And yeah, from there, they gave me my chance, the opportunity, and there I am now traveling and doing monitoring.
Wow, okay. So where do you travel? Like your base is Montreal.
Yeah.
So where are your sites? All over the Canada, or do you come to the US, or how?
I'm not coming to the US. Okay. With the sponsor that I work with, we're very lucky because we have CRAs all across Canada, so we can remain focused to our section. Like my territory is not that big. Like most of the time when I travel, I come back home after the day, so I don't need to go to the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah. But recently I've been traveling to Edmonton, which is more on the west coast, which was a great experience as well.
Yeah. And it's oncology right now?
I'm doing mainly oncology trials, and I'm very blessed and grateful that this company gave me the opportunity to be a CRA starting on oncology trials, because they are very complex.
Oncology is so... I've monitored it as a contract CRA for 3 years. Can you just look in that camera, in that lens that you love, all right, and let them know about just a few tips if they want to do oncology, what they can research more, like RECIST criteria. You just give them like a 1 minute, what they need to dig deeper. He's not going to give you the answers. He's going to tell you where you need to dig deeper.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience, but what I can tell is look at protocols and a lot of information that are available on clinicaltrial.gov. You can find a lot of inclusion-exclusion criteria, which are really different and hard to respect in oncology. As you said, RECIST criteria, RECIST 1.1, definitely your go-to information that you need to know, because there's a lot of scans in oncology to see if there are metastases, complete remission, etc. So yeah, clinicaltrial.gov, RECIST, basically everything you can find on the internet, it's free, so just go for it.
Staging criteria, TNM.
Also,
I remember a lot of this stuff.
You have a good memory, that's great.
It's coming back, man. I had to study this stuff myself, too.
There you go.
We're giving advice to people of things that we've actually done. Like most of the guests I have on, it's people that have done what we're telling other people to do. So they can learn a lot from just what we shared in this interview so far.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say a lot. I said internet because you can find everything on there if you search. Ask one thing, if I may, is ask your company if you are working in a sponsor or environment, if you can have special classes or online trainings on oncology trials, because I'm lucky with my sponsor, we have those. And it's lovely. I learn a lot, and I'm still learning every day with those online trainings.
Even though you work for the CRO, when you can go to the sponsored company and ask them.
So now I have both trainings with the CRO and sponsor on oncology. Most of the time, I see the information twice, but it's good. It's always a good refresher, a good reminder, so it stays in your mind. If, let's say, a PI or a site is asking you a question, at least you are trained.
What's next for you in your career? Like short term, long term? At least what you think you're gonna want to do.
That's a good question. What I want to do, definitely continuing as CRA. It was a dream job since I look at your videos.
All right.
If I can continue in short term as a CRA, that would be lovely. I know some sponsors have lead CRA positions, so they can help other CRA, and I do love that, helping others in my colleagues, etc. So maybe lead CRA, that will be good.
Sure.
Fingers crossed. But at the end of the day, the main goal is still to work in the industry to help patients at the end of the day. So
the industry has so many opportunities. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Everybody go connect with Amuna right now. Underneath his LinkedIn is underneath. Go connect. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, we left ACRP. It was pretty cool. I haven't been to one of these in a while. We were, kind of handcuffed to just the booth, unfortunately, but these are not just my videography team, Jaid and Arturo. They are driving me to the next location, which is the Inato after party. So I had to change of clothes, and this is like a non-ACRP sponsored event. So this is an Inato event. If anything, it's more like a SOS type of vibe where people are just gonna show up. Doesn't cost anything. It's more true to like the thesis of Save Our Sites. And there's gonna be a bunch of site owners, and we have over 100 like actual registrants, but I expect double that amount of people that are actually going to show up. So what did you guys think of the ACRP event, first half of the day? Everybody follow him too on Instagram.
It was an unfortunate scenario of people getting in their own way. We ran into a situation where we had a really great podcast setup, and we were well out of people's way. It was in a wide open area, and we managed to make a good podcast setting there. Unfortunately, some of the event holders or event personnel deemed it to be unsafe, and they were concerned that the fire marshal would have something to say about it. Except they didn't talk to no fire marshal. So and then they proceeded to mention that any filming outside of the Viva booth was prohibited. And I at that moment wondered, did the fire marshal also tell them that? Highly doubt it. But yeah, I was frustrated, probably more than anybody else.
Yeah, more than me. I was amazed. Like, okay, just calm down. It's all good. We still ended up getting a bunch of content. It was less comfortable than I would like because I stood up the whole time, but we still got it. We still did our thing at the end of the day.
We did. We made do with what we had. But like I said, I thought we had a really great setup. I thought we did. We were mindful of the guests, and we were in a location that wouldn't bother anybody. It almost felt like they saw somebody doing something out of the box, which for us, it's not very out of the box. It's an everyday thing. But it just made them feel uncomfortable enough to shut it down. But I knew my position. I came here to be the videographer for Dan, and it wasn't my place to go any further than to ask a few questions and just get as much clarity as I could. It still doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are.
Well, on to the next event, which is, again, it's an Inato-sponsored, unofficial ACRP after party. Again, the vibe is much more like Save Our Sites conference type of vibe. So look forward to it right now. We're gonna see what happens there, and looking forward to meet a bunch of site owners, have meaningful conversations, record some podcasts for sure, and make some relationships. All right, this is the only time you're gonna see her. Thank you, Julie, for everything you do. If you want studies from Julie, join our site now. Didn't even need the mic for her, actually.
I'm Alfia Wag. I work for DM Clinical Research, and I'm a talent acquisition manager.
Okay. Awesome. If you had a magic wand, what's something you would change about the clinical trial industry?
Have more candidate resource pool, because we have a very concentrated candidate resource pool in clinical research. The database and the people around in the industry are very limited. I wish we could have more awareness for clinical research so that, we get more database.
What technologies excite you the most in clinical trials?
I think DM uses Florence and Core, and they talk about them all the time. So I do not work in electronic data capture, but our team are very much positive about Florence and Core.
Okay. So my name is Ashley Balderas. I'm a culture coordinator at DM Clinical Research.
Can you talk about what your favorite part of your job is?
Yeah, so my favorite part of my job is just being able to take care of the people who are taking care of, the medicine, and moving forward and advancing, and making sure that their dedication and innovation is noted and appreciated. So,
hi, my name is Sandy. I'm with Radium Pharmacy now. I'm actually from the pharmacy side, but I do have a background in clinical research. From my clinical research experience, I found that patient recruitment has been challenging part for most of the studies, and for approaching it in a collaborative approach with other healthcare professionals in a community setting, I think that this can bring out to more diversity into patient population. So definitely working with pharmacy or community sites will bring in a more patient diversity, and there's a lot of room for this in this approach. So I just think that's the area that we can work together with.
Hi, my name is Dean Chang. I'm from DM Clinical Research. I'm a clinical project manager.
And what is your favorite thing about the clinical trial industry?
It's always a new thing, and we do collaborative, innovative, and also diversity and equation and very inclusive works. And it's always innovative. That's why I love this job.
Why is diversity important in the clinical research space?
It's because not only participant-wise, but all our data that we're getting from need to be from all of our people, right? So that is why we are very focused on diversity.
My name is Jenny Turner. I work at Summit Research, which is a part of Headlands Site Network in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome. And what is one unique thing about your site that you wish sponsors knew?
I would have to say that we've been a part of every FDA-approved drug on the market right now for Alzheimer's. So it's really incredible that we've been in this space this long, about 30 years, and we want to see this thing through and continue to being on the cutting edge of this space. And it's just an exciting place for us to be.
Hi, I'm Brittany Kendrick. I am a coordinator at ClinVest Research. We're a Headlands research site. My favorite part about my job is training. I love to help other staff members, new staff members, be successful at their job, make sure that they are feeling fulfilled as well. I also really like training our participants and make sure they know what they're doing, what they're into, what they're signed up for. I just really want everybody to feel successful and know how to do their job in the best possible way.
Perfect. And what's something in our space that no one's talking about enough?
I think that there is a lack of communication about the gaps between different vendors, different resources. We're not making it a communication how do we make the sites have a easier job, or how do we help the sponsors? Like, how do we do that together?
My name is Jenny. I work as a clinical research coordinator at the Minneapolis Heart Institute Foundation.
Awesome. And if you had a magic wand, what's something you would change about the clinical trial industry?
Just want to make a more robust workforce just magically appear so that we were well staffed. Yeah.
And what is your favorite part of the clinical trial industry?
I just really love being a part of something that's really cutting edge in a way that offers unique novel therapies to patients. Being able to be a part of something that really helps patients and science is really rewarding for me.
My name's Andy. I am a clinical research coordinator and registered nurse. I work at the Minneapolis Heart Institute Foundation in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And as a coordinator, what is your favorite part about your job?
As a coordinator, I think the favorite part about my job is just like providing patients with more options and kind of giving them new opportunities in their care to be involved in research and new developments.
Awesome. Yeah. And what is something no one's talking about in this space enough that you think we should talk about more?
In the research space, I think we should talk about more patient retention, just getting patients involved and keeping them enrolled in studies and just maintaining that connection too.
Inato after party successful. We're gonna go around real quick and just get people's thoughts on ACRP. Let's start with my man William right here. We've been talking to him for a while. I don't have the other mic, but what do you think so far about this event? What do you think?
Amazing, great event, great people, great networking opportunities with all the sides.
Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
What did you think about the event?
That was great. That was a good opportunity to network.
Are you guys site owners, everyone? Or
Sponsor CRO site, study coordinator site. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.
I've been a follower of yours. Thank you. I appreciate everything that you do. This guy has helped me train my coordinators now. I'm like, guys, go to YouTube and watch this man, because these people.
I've been doing this for 30 years, and all these new people that I meet, they're like, do you know Dan? He taught me everything I know. I'm like, I do know Dan.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I think he's really made such an impact in the clinical research community in all areas, just by being out there and talking.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I was a clinical research site manager for a local office in the Los Angeles area. I was looking to hopefully touch base with you, but I've gone solo as a consultant because I want to help local smaller sites in the urbanized Los Angeles area.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of sites to kind of strengthen themselves with the regulatory.
Ooh, I got a contact for you. Dr. Al Jazairli. He's actually looking for someone like you. He's in North Hollywood Presbyterian.
My mom lives in North Hollywood. Let's go.
So you work for her? Or,
She's my administrative assistant.
What's her name?
I'm her sidekick. Yeah. Sandy. My name is Sandy.
Admin?
She's my admin assistant.
All right.
My calls and appointments.
Dr. Al, we got someone for you. I'm going to introduce her to you right now. I'll give you his number.
Perfect. And I will hand my business card over. If you would like to zoom in, please do.
Zoom in, Arturo.
She's on LinkedIn. Thank you. Here's my QR code. Thank you so much. Now you can find me at www.insightresearchconsultant.com. Thank you.
That's cool. Thank you.
I'm hoping to help the Latino community along with other.
Did we have you on Latinos in Clinical Research yet?
I joined your page, but I would love to be part of your guys' now.
You haven't met Judy or Monica?
I've known everyone else.
Do you guys want to go over there and meet them?
Yeah, I want to go over and meet her.
I'll text you Dr. Al's phone number.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
His cell phone. He's actually looking for someone like you.
And I work with local radio stations, so I do live like on-air calls and educational, ads and stuff. So if you want to advertise, please give me a call. I'm bilingual, hablo español, so puedo ayudar a los pacientes de cualquier idioma, inglés o español. Give me a call, Dr. L.
This is cool. All right, let me introduce you to Judy Monica.
Oh, Monica.
You know Monica?
Yeah, I mean, I follow your guys' pages.
But you didn't meet her?
Never, not in person.
All right.
I'm excited.
Watch, we're going to introduce. This is better than any conference when you connect someone to someone else and you create key performance indicators, business objectives. So Linda is going to be introduced to Dr. Al Jazairli, who's actually one of the founding members of Save Our Sites. And we're going to introduce Linda right now to Monica and Judy over here. Thank you.
I really want to say that you have helped me kind of with the outreach to the community. I see the things you guys do. I'm reaching out to local clínicas médicas or medical clinics in the local area, to kind of set up that outreach to help patients in the area. So a lot of the stuff that my office has done, Mr. Sfer right here, has been a big...
Well, thank you. I'm going to text you right now Dr. Al's number so you can have your family. I would love it. We actually have cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, and weight loss all in one. Either of those first two, and then weight loss.
Perfect. Oh, we've got some people that could do the weight loss in Yuma.
Oh, damn day. Yeah, we had lunch.
Even the bathroom break.
Even the bathroom. Podcast. ACRP won't let us shoot, so I'm in one urinal, another guy's here. I'm like, hey man, how's it going with your site? How's it going?
Oh man, that was so challenging, man. That was so. Don't take your phone.
I still did, but yeah.
Don't do it.
Judy told me 3 times, don't do anything bad, just leave him. You know who got more mad than me is Jaid, the other videographer. He was pissed. I was like, relax, man, it's okay. He's like, no, that's not alright.